Director Nelson, can you please make the motion to adopt the agenda?
I move that the Board of Education adopt the agenda as presented.
Melissa, roll call, please.
Second?
Oh, I was just, okay. Moved and seconded. Melissa, roll call, please.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Hafley?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
It's the new year, so I'm just a little bit catching up, so still in vacation, like holiday mode. We do have executive session for roughly 90 minutes. Director Hafley, can you please make the motion to enter into executive session?
I move that the Board of Education convenes into executive session to discuss negotiations per CRS 24-6-4024E, particular matter superintendent contract, and personnel per CRS 24-6-4024F, particular matter superintendent contract and mid-year evaluation.
Second. Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Hafley?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. We will enter into executive session and we will rejoin the regular board meeting at approximately 5:30 up here in the boardroom. Thank you. So good evening to all of you. We are reconvening in public session and there is no need to modify the agenda after executive session. For those of you who did not see the start of the meeting, the agenda was adopted as presented. I do want to inform the community that the board performed a mid-year evaluation of Superintendent Gall earlier in executive session. The feedback will be shared with Superintendent Gall in the near future. With that, it's good to see all of you here this chilly evening at the first regular board meeting of 2024. I want to wish all of you in the audience and people that are at home watching a Happy New Year. Hope all of you had a relaxing winter break and holiday season. And thank you all for being here this evening. With that, the Pledge of Allegiance. We have students from
Caleb, Abigail, Abigail, Anthony, and Abby.
Okay. The students that Superintendent Gall called out, could you please come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
See, I told you just had to say the word "I."
Thank you. Appreciate you guys leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The next item on the agenda is School Board Appreciation Recognition Month. January is School Board Appreciation Month. We have City Councilman Dave Donaldson joining us to share a few words and read a proclamation. But first, I want to turn it over to you, Superintendent Gall. Do you have a few words to?
Well, Councilman, please come forward because it can only say so much when you're praising your boss, and so it's a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to share this recognition. This has become the district standard for a proclamation from our city. We are the heart of the city. We are the only school district in El Paso County that has the word Colorado Springs in its title. And so I, with great appreciation, give the microphone to Councilman Dave Donaldson to share our appreciation for our local control of our school system.
So I want to thank Superintendent Gall for those nice words, President Malpacum and Vice President Hafley. And it's very nice that they have their names right in front of them, so I don't stumble when I try to say them, and all the other board members. And as Superintendent Gall pointed out, I serve on City Council, so normally I'm on that side of the dais, and I get to look at everyone. So this is really strange for me with my back to all of you. So I apologize for that. I've received the honor of being the one to present this on behalf of all of City Council, and especially our City Council President, Randy Helms. His signature is on here. I'm gonna call him out. There's even a grammar error in this thing, which I felt very bad about reading in front of at a school board meeting. How bad is that? So we made a pen and ink correction on that, so I'll go right over it. And maybe, someone here help me correct that. So I want to thank Melissa Olson for that. With that, let me read this to you. And again, the idea is to thank this school board for the great work they're doing. So the City of Colorado Springs, Colorado issues a proclamation of Colorado Springs School District 11 School Board Appreciation Month, January 2024. Whereas school boards create a vision for what students know and are able to do, and whereas school boards establish clear standards for student performance and ensure that student assessments are tied to established standards, and whereas school boards align the school district's resources to ensure that students meet the standards, and whereas school boards create a climate that supports the philosophy that all children can learn at high levels, and whereas school boards are committed to continuous education and training on issues related to student achievement, and whereas the school board has been providing quality education to the Colorado Springs School District 11 children for 150 years, the oldest school district, as Superintendent Gall said, the heart of the city. And finally, whereas the City of Colorado Springs and Colorado Springs School District 11 have a collaborative relationship built on trust and teamwork to make the community a better place for all. Now, therefore, I, Randy Helms, President of the Colorado Springs City Council, do hereby officially proclaim January 2024 as Colorado Springs School District 11 School Board Appreciation Month. So with that, thank you. And because there are students in the room, I have to point this out. Mistake number 2, this is embarrassing. It says, whereas the school board has providing equality education. See, they meant to put quality and they put equality. So that's why it's important to pay attention in classes and learn this stuff, man. It's embarrassing.
Let's all gather for a photo with Councilman.
Right here, we're going to put you in the middle.
We do it in the middle. Everybody here knows there are 2 grammar errors in this. And the president's holding.
Dr. Binkis, I need you to scoot in just a little bit. All right. 1, 2. Great, thank you.
I'm going to ask Jeff Mattingly to come forward before we read our next award and recognition. I just want to give a shout out to what Phil Long has done for our school system, not just in this one particular instance, but in the constant supply of resources for our automotive CTE and the access for our students to be able to work and practice next to actual trained technicians. You can just imagine the difference between what it means to work on a car inside your high school and what it means to go to an actual dealership and see how those things run. And so Phil Long has been a tremendous partner as we go ahead and read this. Go ahead, Phyllis.
The Colorado Springs School District 11 would like to recognize Phil Long Hyundai of Chapel Hills as a new partner in education. This partnership aims to educate, empower, and uplift all students in District 11 through access to opportunities and resources. Of the many ways Phil Long Hyundai of Chapel Hills will support our students, tonight we would like to highlight one particular and generous contribution. Phil Long Hyundai of Chapel Hills will donate $2,500 quarterly to a rainy day transportation fund. This fund's objective is to help ensure that a child is not limited in their learning experience and exposure because of their socioeconomic status. This fund may be used for field trips or curriculum enrichment opportunities with our schools. Thank you, General Manager Jeff Mattingly.
Just excited about the opportunity to be able to do it.
Thanks. Jeff said he's excited about the opportunity to build this partnership. Thanks.
And before you leave, Jeff, can I just have a word to. You have something more to
No,
add?
I'm good. You're good.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for what you are doing. I do want to give a shout out to Justin at the back of the room too. Justin Admission, he works for the communications and marketing department at Phil Long Hyundai, and he's also a parent at Freedom Elementary. So I've got to know Justin as just a board member visiting Freedom, and Justin has engaged with me over the last year and a half. And a few months back, he approached me and said that Mr. Mattingly and Phil Long Hyundai is really interested in partnering with District 11 and supporting our students in some capacity. Then that conversation got handed over to Superintendent Gall and then to Dr. Jessica Weiss. And this is kind of the product of all that coming. And it's just heartwarming to see where it started and where community partnership ends up in, and how it ends up directly benefiting our students in the classroom. This is going to go a long way in helping support our students and students that cannot afford to go on field trips. So thank you so much for your generosity, for also the CTE programs that, partnership that we have, and students get hands-on work experience by coming to your dealership. So looking forward to this partnership thriving in the coming months, and we will certainly look forward to providing you periodic updates on how these funds are being used too. Thank you so much. And thank you, Justin, too. I do want to give a shout out to Justin because this all started with him putting the wheels in motion.
Okay, I'm going to ask all our thespians to come forward.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
One more minute.
more?
What I want to, before just circling back, I do want to, I didn't have an opportunity. I do want to thank Councilman Donaldson for being here. And please convey our gratitude to the rest of the city councilmen and President Randy Helms. And we look forward to collaborating and working with you too. I didn't get an opportunity to say that. So thank you so much for being here.
I'll be happy to do that part, but I ask if you have someone from here proofread all of our proclamations.
Well, I can think of the perfect person that will do that, but we can have that conversation later. But thank you for recognizing us. I know that sometimes the work that the board members do is a thankless job to some extent, so it's always good to be noticed and appreciated. Thank you. Back to you.
Okay, keeping with our awards of recognition, I get all the thespians and the staff that supported them to come forward. And as they're coming forward, I'll be handing you certificates. We'll read a little summary of the ThesCon superiors. But I want to let everybody that's listening know that if you can't show up here live, you're missing, because we do a prelude now at the beginning of our board meetings. And so we had our visual and performing arts thespians today doing some monologue and some interactive small skits. And it was really tremendous to see our young people stepping out of their own skin into a character, not only in front of their peer group, but in front of strangers literally walking in and out. So if you're ever doubting what it is that we're producing, just pay attention, and I think you'll be impressed. Go ahead, Melissa.
ThesCon Superiors. The 59th Annual ThesCon Conference took place at the Denver Convention Center on December 7th through 9th, 2023. The conference aims to promote and strengthen theater arts and education through invigorating theatrical experiences. Students at the conference had the opportunity to participate in senior college auditions and train with some of the country's leading professionals in acting, directing, playwriting, and technical theater. Students and teachers attended workshops, local and professional performances, and completed in individual events, one-acts, and the improv frenzy through the 3 days of the convention. With a performance track and a technical theater track, all aspects of theater education were highlighted. Students who participated in individual events, or THESPIs, were adjudicated by a panel of guest judges. THESPIs is an educational program that offers conference delegates the opportunity to receive constructive feedback on prepared theatrical material and technical designs. The goal for participating students is to receive input from industry professionals on their skills, strengths, and weaknesses to grow as theater artists and individuals. Students who received superior performance ratings represent the very best in their selected performance area.
You read too fast. I'm not done yet.
Kelly Schultz.
I'm not sure if you're a character or not. Kale's funny. Not Kale. I know that last name, so I'm gonna recognize that. Zach? Very good, thank you. Safaria Weaver? Exactly, I get close, I said. Zafira, thank you so much. Alyssa, I met because Lisa, you still sound like my mother. So. And I got Kel. Okay, great. Can I get either and or both adults to say a couple of words about? There you go.
That counts. Hi, I'm Lynn Goodwin-Witchery from Mitchell High School, and this is Erin Ambrose from Coronado. We're the directors of our departments. Ryan Reed from Doherty could not be with us this evening. Thank you so much for supporting our kids as they do their best at the state conference. We're so proud of how well you guys did in each of your areas.
These students here represent only a small portion of the amount of children each school took. Each of our schools took 30 kids to compete, and they competed at a very high level with 5,000 theater students from across all of Colorado. Some students were chosen and selected for main stage to perform in front of the entire group and received scholarship and college offers throughout this conference as well. So while this is our state conference, these students are performing at a high level throughout the school year at all of the 4 high schools here in Colorado Springs, and we're exceedingly proud of the work that they do and also at the positive culture that they're creating and the human beings that they truly are in their schools and the example they set for others.
Can I get one student comment? Anybody want to say what this experience means to you? Go ahead, great. Thanks so much.
I'm truly so grateful that the experience that theater has given me, like to find my own way in high school, like, excuse me. It's truly grown a beautiful community in which we can all find ourselves, find our people, and really hook onto what we're passionate about. And I feel like I've been told that's what high school's for, to explore and to discover yourself. So I'm so grateful that, and I hope in the future that the district can continue to fund the arts to help create this beautiful space for everyone. So thank you so much.
And thespians always like a round of applause.
Thank you, and congratulations to all of you students out there. To the community that is watching, if you have an opportunity to visit one of our schools and see one of their theater productions that they put together, I strongly encourage that you do that. I was, I think, Director Art was also there at the production of Chicago earlier in November, and that, the Coronado kids brought the house down with their performance. Ms. Ambrose is out there too. The only thing is, for the couple of weeks after that, I was constantly keeping humming those tunes because those are so catchy tunes out there. But you put in a lot of time and effort in getting those students prepared. So thank you for, some of the amazing things that are happening in our schools. Okay, moving on from awards and recognition, the spotlight, Superintendent Gall, it's going to be on CTE Ascent.
Yeah, and so I'd like to bring Dwayne Roberson forward, and he has a bit of a program to show folks here today. We're shifting from just individual school spotlights and now starting to bring in some program spotlights. And so we wanted to start the new year off with one of our strongest programs that we want to make sure our community is aware of. Dwayne?
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, President Mapacum, Vice President Halfley. It's wonderful to be here tonight, start off the new year with you. We have a brief presentation, and we really aren't the stars of tonight's presentation. We brought 4 of your CTE Rockstar students who will really tell the story for us. We're just kind of background noise. So with that, we are the post-secondary programming for the district. So that's career and technical education, work-based learning, and college access. And we think of ourselves as a full, well-rounded post-secondary program. We're leaning into the pre-K through 14, and we think of ourselves as really the 9 through 14 wing of that, with middle school CTE being also part of that. Our team consists of a few people who are here tonight and will be sharing that spotlight. Myself, I'm Dwayne Roberson, the Director of Career and Technical Education. Annie Friesma, our Coordinator of Education Pathways, is with us tonight. Melissa Smith, our Work-Based Learning Coordinator, is with us tonight. Kristen Miller, our Concurrent Enrollment Coordinator, cannot make it tonight. And Andrea Aragon, our CTE Hospitality and Culinary Arts Instructor, is with us tonight. And so each of us will share a little bit about the broader picture, and then hopefully our students' voice will kind of paint the picture of the day-to-day outcomes. Career and technical education will serve approximately 4,500 students this year. We'll take at least one CTE class at the high school level, with a significant number, almost 10% of those students, completing their 4th, 5th, and 6th courses, what the state calls a concentrator. D11 supports 17 registered pathways with the state of Colorado that are spread across 50 different programs. And so where that comes into play is we might have 2 automotive programs, right? So that's 1 registered pathway, but 2 programs, 1 at Doherty, 1 at that. So we have 50, which includes some duplication. Of those, approximately 300 industry certifications will come out of our program annually. And those are industry recognized certifications as identified by the state of Colorado and the Top Jobs report. In addition to that, we'll have almost 1,000 students earn college credit through CTE. And with that, and with the emphasis on certifications, I want to turn it over to our Doherty highlight, or our highlight from Doherty High School, Caleb Robertson, who is a business and marketing student, major, with incredible accolades in the business program there, and has just earned one of the newest industry recognized certifications, the Small Business Entrepreneurship. And with that, I'd like to turn over to Caleb.
Good evening, Superintendent Gall, President Malpacum, and the rest of the board today. My name is Caleb Robertson, and I'm a senior at Doherty. My high school experience began during COVID, and I can honestly say in my 4 years, I've experienced a wide variety of things. I've been actively involved in many things at Doherty, including competing in mock trial, earning awards at regional and state levels. I first met Mr. Cole as my CER teacher during freshman year. I have taken classes in the business department, including computer science from Mrs. Newmeyer and Mr. Schaefer, and business classes from Mr. Cole. I was encouraged to compete in DECA and was able to qualify for state and nationals. The business education program is providing many opportunities for students to earn industry-recognized certifications and college credits. First semester in the business education program at Doherty had 80 individuals earn a total of 154 industry certifications, and students are eligible to receive 664 college credits based upon this work. And I am happy to be part of the Career and Technical Education Business Program at Doherty. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to turn it over to Melissa Smith now, who is going to talk to you a little bit about our work-based learning aspect of the post-secondary program.
Good evening, board. I have the great privilege of being the work-based learning coordinator and really connecting what students are learning in the classroom with curriculum to real-world experiences. So work-based learning focuses on job shadows, internships, and apprenticeships. So our D11, we have launched our first internal regional apprenticeships within our own system. And so those students will be starting here shortly, working in the departments of IT under John McCarran, and then district interpreters. And then we have 2 other divisions that are willing to take kids on later on this semester. We have over 300 internships that are going to be fulfilled this year. We are on track to reach that. We have more than 20 community partnerships and organizations and associations that we use. And underneath those organizations and associations, we have over 100 different placement sites for our students. So thank you, Dwayne. So for my student highlight, I chose Abigail Morgan, and I will have her introduce herself, but she did her internship at a place called Ariel, and it's a healthcare partner that we have underneath the umbrella of JAWS. JAWS is Jumpstart Aging Workforce Solutions, and they have partnered with UCCS Healthcare Division and Department, trying to help the need of fulfilling those positions in the aging group. And so, so Abigail Morgan is a senior at Digital High School, and so I'm going to turn the time over to her.
Good evening, board. My name is Abigail Morgan. I am a senior at Digital High School. I heard about this program after my mom had actually sent me or forwarded the email to me. I saw that there was a medical internship, and as someone who has a very high passion to have a career as a medical professional, this was perfect for me. During my internship, I was able to get CPR and first aid certified in all ages and severities of accidents and injuries. This has really changed a lot of things for me. This has put me in a position where I now have a more straight road ahead to being able to get to the end goal in my high school years. This has opened up a lot of doors for me and put me in a lot of great situations where I'm not only learning new things about other people, but I'm learning new things about the places around me, and also having opportunities to come and do things like speak to you guys about the amazing internship that I was involved in. And honestly, I think it's one of the best things that I've ever done throughout my 4 years of being in high school. So, yeah.
Having to choose which pathways get to speak tonight is like having to choose from your children. All right, 17 pathways. We could have taken all night. We are so passionate about every one of those pathways. Every one of those pathways has teachers who deserves recognition and appreciation and support. But you do have to make some choices. So next I would like to bring up Andrea Aragon to talk about the hospitality pathway and some big initiatives.
Good evening. I am proud to share the premier hospitality pathway in the Pikes Peak region. The D11 Hospitality Pathway connects middle and high school students across the district to post-secondary and industry opportunities. D11 maintains strong industry partnerships with the Pikes Peak chapter of the Colorado Restaurant Association, the Pikes Peak Lodging Association, and the American Culinary Federation. This year, we are excited to share two big initiatives: the food truck and farm box. The food truck is a small school bus currently being remodeled and will integrate multiple career pathways throughout the district, such as multimedia and design through the logo and exterior design of the food truck, and culinary arts through menu design and food production. The farm box is a 40-foot container farm that will allow students to grow locally sourced food year-round in any climate. This hydroponic farm will be managed by Dr. James Owino at Odyssey and will allow him to elevate the current lab experience. Phase 1 will allow current partnerships with D11 culinary programs to grow by providing herbs and vegetables to culinary classes throughout the district and ingredients for the food truck menu. Phase 2 will provide an opportunity for students to explore how the needs of the local food service industry can be met through a student enterprise. The hospitality pathway includes college credits, industry certifications, student-based enterprises, work-based learning, pro-start competitions, and the CTSO, Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. Here to share his hospitality journey is the 2023 Odyssey Pro-Start Student of the Year, Anthony
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony Bruszewski, and I'm a junior at Odyssey Early College and Career Options, and also the junior assistant manager at Fargo's Pizza Company. I began my hospitality journey my 10th grade year when I joined the ProStart class. From that, I then joined FCCLA and eventually the ProStart team for Odyssey. Myself and my team prepared for the state-level ProStart competition where we made a 3-course meal in only 1 hour. The state competition, we won first in Colorado, then leading us to go to nationals in Washington, D.C. Along with ProStart, I also am in FCCLA. In FCCLA, I've been able to go to the state and national conferences. In the state, I competed in the gourmet savory event, and in the national, I had the opportunity to do training. Sorry, I apologize. From the hospitality pathway, I've been able to volunteer at the Colorado Bar and Restaurant show and the Benny Keith food show. Through ProStart with Ms. Aragon, our mentor Jan Whittle was able to get me connections for over the summer to have a job at the Manhattan Room Tapas Kitchen, where I worked there over the summer. Currently, I'm dually enrolled at Pikes Peak State College, and I'm doing culinary classes there as well. Thank you.
So I hope you're seeing a trend, right? CTE works in unison with work-based learning and with concurrent enrollment. The perfect spot for our students to land is in the center, right? When they take advantage of our work-based learning partnerships, when they take advantage of our college access, and when they take advantage of the incredible CTE programs and teachers, including the student organizations that you have supported graciously throughout the years and provided the opportunity for these students to travel to state and national competitions. With that, I'd like to bring up our last career and technical pathway highlight, which is one that's near and dear to all of us and one that we are desperately in need of being successful. That is our own future educator pathway. And I'm going to bring up Annie Friesma.
Hi, good evening, board. Today I want to share with you another prime example of a comprehensive CTE program in District 11 called the Future Educator Pathway. This program is designed for high school students who are interested in careers in teaching or school counseling. Students take rigorous courses that offer college credits with our local partners, Pikes Peak State and UCCS. They also do certifications and participate in an internship in a classroom to really experience the teaching profession. Students in this pathway also have the opportunity to compete at district, state, and national levels in the Career and Technical Student Organization, FCCLA. Next month, we will have 37 high school future educators start their internships in 24 different District 11 elementary and middle schools, and 1 community post-secondary partner school, which is UCCS, in the Family Development Center. This number is up from the 15 students that we had in the pathway last year. We're up to 37 now, more than doubling our numbers. For those schools and teachers who are hosting an intern this year, we thank you. The path to the profession has just become a lot more realistic for our students with the new program called TREP. TREP, which stands for Teacher Recruitment Education Preparation Program, offers 2 free years of college tuition for our future educator students. Next, I would like to introduce a 3rd-year pathway student, Abby Jones.
Good evening. My name is Abby Jones, and I'm a senior at Coronado High School and a future educator pathway student. As Ms. Friesma mentioned, I'm currently in my 3rd year of the education pathway. I have taken classes like Child Development, Teacher Cadet 1, and am now enrolled in the Teacher Cadet 2 internship program. I've had the chance to try out the teaching profession in 2 different elementary schools and have been in the classroom for over 90 hours. Being able to test out the profession of teaching has helped me realize that I want to go into education in the future. I've interned at both Chipeta Elementary in a 5th grade classroom with Mrs. Jamie Cronmiller, and am now entering my 2nd semester at Halbert Elementary with Mrs. Julie Morris in a 1st and 2nd grade combined classroom. Through this program, I have had opportunities to become CPR, first aid, and AED certified as well. The Future Educator Pathway has helped me want to continue to pursue a career in education, and I hope to embark on the TREP scholarship at UCCS next year to help me reach my goal of becoming an educator.
Since Kristen Miller, our concurrent enrollment coordinator for the district, couldn't be with us tonight, I have the privilege of sharing her transformational work. So concurrent enrollment basically is where a high school student, as early as the 9th grade, takes a college class, tuition-free, paid for by District 11. We offer current enrollment courses where it meets the student, either on their high school campus, taught by their high school teacher, online courses for our busy students, or on the college campus. We currently have 12 higher education partners, some of which are located close to us, like Pikes Peak State College and UCCS, and others are a bit further away, such as Spelman, Penn, and Stanford. Each year, we strive to expand our college partnerships to better meet the needs of our students and their families. This school year, almost 900 students will access a concurrent enrollment class, which is up from 77 students in 2021. So I'm going to read that one more time, because in 2021, we had 77 students accessing a college class through concurrent enrollment, and this year, we're going to have 900 students. That is Kristen Miller, concurrent enrollment coordinator. For those 900 students, they will earn a total of 5,500 college credits, saving District 11 families close to $1 million this year alone. We continue to expand our tuition-free post-secondary programs to include the Promise, Ascent, TREP for qualified students. We now have the Promise, which offers 2 free years or up to 60 college credits at Pikes Peak State College. And we have Ascent, which offers 1 free year of college tuition, and TREP, which offers 2 free years of college tuition for qualified students at 3 different college partner locations. We are excited to announce that starting in the fall of 2024, UCCS has been added as a post-secondary partner for District 11's Ascent and TREP programs. We are thrilled about our new partnership with UCCS and the opportunities that it will bring our students. I now would like to welcome Chris Beiswinger, the Executive Director of Enrollment Management at UCCS.
Good evening, all. Yeah, we are very excited to be back on with D11 doing Ascent, concurrent enrollment, and TREP for the first time. UCCS has not been doing these programs for about 5 years, and District 11 folks, Superintendent Scott right there, Annie, Kristen Miller, all met with us and said, hey, it's been 5 years. We really want to see if you guys would reconsider this. And our new leadership, new CFO, new chancellor all said, we really have to figure out a way to make this happen. And so getting back onto this just continually offers more options for your D11 students. Thinking bigger, we know that those students that then do progress on to college, finishing their degrees at a higher rate, with higher GPAs, less likely for remediation, and really the biggest one is they just retain, they persist, they finish, and they keep building that college-going culture that we want to see in Southern Colorado. So we're very excited for this, and we've had 2 students that got on concurrent enrollment with us this year. They were our guinea pigs from Coronado, just building a new machine for us again, and so we really appreciate the patience of everybody as we have to figure out new tuition rates and no fees and things like that. So it's not easy, but we're very excited for the future. So thank you.
So before I bring up Dr. Mindelsberg to finish the presentation for us this evening, we consider ourselves, our team, the Opportunity Launch Team. If you've had a chance to join us at our evening talks for the 2nd year in a row, we've hosted 5 evening talks called Opportunity Launch. Today, our team was in front of 200 students at Coronado High School, where we gave individual presentations on these opportunities. We'll be back there tomorrow if you want to join us and see the lengthy presentation. You're certainly welcome. Dr. Mindelsberg is going to come up and kind of wrap up things. But today we saw everything in action. We're introducing three new programs that are certification based outside of CTE pathways. So this is a 911 call emergency training certification. We're partnering with Callahan School District to offer that. It's an incredible partnership, small and big partnership. They have the capacity to teach the course. They've invited us to join it. In just 24 hours, Coronado was able to find and identify 4 students who will take part in that program. The same is true of our dental assistant program. We'll be the first district in Colorado Springs to offer a dental assistant certification. And in just a few short days, our counseling teams have been able to lean in, figure out which students are the right students, rearrange schedules, and hopefully we'll populate our first cohort. It's a partnership between our team and the rest of the district in order to make these things happen. And with that, I'd like to bring up Dr. Mindelsberg.
Thank you, Dwayne, and good evening, board. It's always a treat to be in front of you this evening. So I got a couple quick things, and we'll open it up for questions. So things that are coming down the pike that we wanted to make you guys aware of. One is, as you can see, simplified pathway messaging. Forever, CDE has put out a bunch of career pathway things, and it's clusters and those kind of things. The attempts have been fantastic, but it just doesn't sync. So we're really working internally to build basically degree maps where you can see where the industry cert is, where the 2-year degree is, and where the 4-year degree is, so that students have multiple opportunities for on and off ramps depending on how their life goes. So please know that we're working on that. We're also doing deeper relationships with local and higher ed. You've heard a lot about the promise, the wonderful partnership we have with Lance Bolton and Pikes Peak State College. UCCS folks have just been fantastic. As a matter of fact, not only are we getting wonderful opportunities that you already heard here tonight, where free college, no fees for our students, but I'm also meeting with their vice chancellor here in the next couple weeks to talk about some even more important opportunities about case management sharing, student data sharing that makes sense so that we can track our students at the next level. It's great to get them there. We're going to do that. But it's also the most important thing that they finish, and working together, I think we can get there. So wanted to bring that up too. Really appreciate CSU Pueblo as well. And I feel confident that next year in the fall, we'll start talking about some of our partnerships with Colorado College as well. So wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that. The expanded concurrent enrollment through virtual opportunities. We're very lucky to work in a district with great IT folks and teachers that are willing to look above and beyond what's right in front of them. And so we want to make sure that no students are penalized by the geography of where they go to school. There's only so many things that each school can do. As we're working together, we're opening up virtual hybrid options where students don't have to travel across, but we can stream college CTE content across the district so that, again, we don't have to worry about transportation, but kids, if they want an opportunity, will figure it out. That can be concurrent enrollment, it can be IB, it can be AP. So we're working on that. I'll let you know that we ran a pilot last spring. We ran a college art class. We had 40 kids from all over the district. Every high school was represented. 38 of those kids passed. So it just opens that up. We think we're going to have even more coming down the road there. And so the last thing that I get to talk about is the AMP middle school CTE investment. As you guys know, there's been a lot of work around AMP and the vertical articulations and things like that. We've done a lot of things in elementary, middle schools up next, and you're going to be hearing more about that in the times to come. So last thing I'll say before I turn it over to open up for questions is you will see appendices with a lot of growth data and things like that. We don't have the time, or none of us have the time to go through all that, but this small but extremely mighty team has done a lot of work. Love to have you guys take a look at that. So with that, I'll get off here and open it up for questions if any of the board has them. Thank you.
Superintendent Gall, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'll just cover the incredible work that's happened from this team. You know, we talked about high schools finding your excellence through experience. You heard that today. You heard it from students. You saw it in multiple programs, multiple different schools as well. These are not all kids that are at one school. Nearly every one of our schools can be represented in this. The other thing is just the incredible work that we're doing on refusing to accept no as an answer. There are internships and apprenticeships available in our city with local economy. They're harder to actually formalize. And so when we came up with the idea of getting more internships and apprenticeship, the district leaned in and said, we'll do it in-house. And so we're doing a lot of that with IT, with our skills trade, with our engagement team. We have leaders in our own system that said we can benefit from showing our own work to our students, which then becomes a kind of that self-fulfilling prophecy. As a master's graduate from UCCS, I could not be more excited, Chris, for the partnership that you and the new chancellor are going to bring to bear. This is our home school, is UCCS. We are your #1 partner, and I know that we're building relationships with CC. I thank Annie Friesman for going over and starting the conversation on our future educator pathway, particularly on the early childhood programming that they have to offer there. We will solve these problems locally. We will solve them through distance. We will ensure that every one of our kids, we're almost there, any kid that needs to go to Pikes Peak State College is going to get that funding from this school district. Right now, any kid that wants to become a teacher and is willing to go to UCCS is going to be eligible to apply for TREP. We believe the state will continue to fund that. We can be the school district that leads our state to say, why are we restricting kids from access to the middle class because they can't afford college? We are breaking those barriers down. This is going from K-12 to pre-K to 14 in action, and I couldn't be more excited than the way we've delivered this message today, particularly through the voice of both the program owner and the benefactor, which are our students. So thank you for our students for being here. I turn it over to questions to the board.
Board members, questions, comments? Dr. Nelson, you get to go first.
I was just curious, are the internships and apprenticeships paid? Do the students earn wages?
They can be both paid and unpaid.
Okay.
More times than not, employers will choose to pay. It satisfies their need a lot of times around workman's compensation and issues like that. But we never say no to an internship offer, and we can always find a student in both categories.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just the experience alone is so worthwhile. Building their resumes, figuring out what they actually want. I want to go back to high school, guys. Like, please, let me come. I personally had experience with internships at a tortilla chip factory, at a spice company, and it just paved the way for me to have my dream job. And so I'm just so happy for the kids that they get to experience and really figure out what their passions are. So kudos to the team for all the hard work in expanding this for our students.
I just wanted to add, the internships and the apprenticeships through D11 are being paid. And so, fingers crossed in the next couple of weeks. So I just wanted to put that out there. It is a funding stream that we are requesting, that we feel the value of doing that, and not only having it for the ones that we've secured, but also future ones that our students are wanting in different divisions and departments within the district.
Is
So,
that, so
thank
that's
you.
in tonight's mid-year budget
Yes,
request?
it is in the mid-year budget request.
I figured.
And I think that's why she's keeping her fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Fingers crossed. Because we have the students lined up and they're super excited, and we have the different divisions and departments that want our students. And just like what Mr. Gall said, when we can show the community that we're willing to invest in our own kids, then I think that they are more willing to invest in our kids also. And so starting it here, I think, is really important.
And thank you to our staff that are willing. I mean, it takes extra time to coach and mentor, but that's what we're in the business of, is
Yes.
educating,
So
right?
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dr. Ott.
Thank you. 2 questions. The first, because I'm selfish this way, when and where are we going to find a food truck?
So we have an amazing vendor who has actually worked on some of the most prominent food trucks in Colorado, names that you would recognize, Mateo's and so on. If we're on schedule, which just means if he's on schedule, he'll wrap up the remodification of the truck probably towards late February. We'll get it back on site. By then, our CTE program shall have designed, and we might have chosen, and maybe you'll help us choose, the final design. We want to probably stick with yellow because it's a school bus, but we also want to make it D11 special. We'll send it off to that vendor. So to answer your question, we hope to have it serviceable by spring break with some form of a ribbon cutting coming in April or May.
All right, so you'll let us know when
Absolutely.
we can come in.
We're on time. And it is, again, it speaks to the team. Without the procurement expertise that this district can bring to bear, their ability to scrutinize a contract and the financial team to support it, we wouldn't be here. It is a team to get these types of large size projects.
Yeah, there's about 11 no's we had to get through to get to yes.
Right. It's a team. They hold us accountable, but the end product is always better.
Thank you. And these are such fantastic things, and I know you continue to build on them. It's always been great. I remember that when I first ran for school board 6 years ago, and it's like the district's doing great things in CTE. Let's do more. Let's do more. And it's amazing to see it all come into fruition over and over again. Really. Question though. And of course, you've got future centers right there.
Yeah, well,
that's
we were
one way to
saving that for the
communicate. Okay,
Yeah,
I know
bury
that's
the-
one way to communicate to our students, but even for the greater community and enrollment, and some kids that just aren't going to wander by the future center and pop in, how are we communicating our programs?
Yeah,
to
so
everyone?
we have a fantastic relationship with Ms. Weiss and the communications team and the Engage team. One of the excitement things that you're going to start seeing is the opportunity to launch newsletter, so that we're going to start sending that out. That'll be our bi-weekly newsletter where all of our up-and-coming opportunities, new concurrent enrollment classes, some of these certification programs, work-based learning opportunities, those will be featured. We may be able to introduce student features or programmatic features. One of the key elements of that is if you haven't seen it yet, it's because we've only been sending it out to parents and households of middle and high school. And we're going to expand that to send it out to all households and all staff at those buildings. We think that third grade families, I am a D11 family. I've got a middle school and an elementary student. I'm picking my high school and my middle school in 3rd and 7th grade. So we really need to be making sure that our elementary families are knowing about our possibilities. Just to share a quick story, at the last opportunity launch night that we gave, a District 20 family that saw the newsletter came to see what these concurrent enrollments, specifically the Promise, and they'd heard about TREP and Ascent. They came to learn a little bit more about that. They have choiced their student out of D11 into Academy 20. They are a resident of D11. And because of the opportunities that we have here, they were seriously reconsidering bringing their student back into the middle school in time to acclimate them to take advantage of our high school opportunities. So I think it's critical that families hear about the opportunities, even if it's not the right opportunity at the right moment for their kid, they know it's coming.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback on that real quick. So thanks, Dwayne. So honestly, we've really looked at this, and this team's been amazing about being very active and proactive about messaging. So not just sending, and I'm not belittling, but not just sending out an email or a newsletter or having stuff on a website. We are going to every class. We're doing back to school nights. We're doing as many different things. You're going to hear some other things down the road about other ways, because one of the things that we've heard a lot of that we need to solve for is these are all great programs, not enough people know about them. And so I get that message a lot from my boss about we got to make sure everybody knows about them. And so, again, in the very near future, you'll hear other things that we're doing that I think are very innovative and creative, where all kids will hear these messages multiple times in multiple different ways.
Yeah, and so just to wrap that up after the two wrap-ups, the Future Center is where all this is going to start to come to life.
Yeah.
We have had incredible programming in our district, and we've had incredible school-level counselor support. We want to find the way those gears fit together that meets the needs of the student, and we're engaging with our students to communicate in their language. As I see Anthony there, I've seen him serve both board members and other partners before, as well as other students. And when I ask other students, do you know about ProStart? Do you know about what Anthony's engaged in? They give me the 100-yard stare of they don't know. And so we have to remember that, Dwayne, how long have you been in the district?
8 years.
8 years. Dwayne's been here for 8 years. And even though we have students for hopefully the 14-year time period, each year we have to re-message to them, because as they move through the system, adults stay. So we're like, I told them last year, but you now come to high school next year, so you don't know that there's a new opportunity. The Future Center, and I please invite everyone to join us next Thursday at this launch opportunity, I think will really be the place where that rubber meets the road for us to see how do we stack up resources and opportunities for our students and match them based upon the needs and the desires of the student, not whether or not Dwayne can get to Doherty. Doherty's there. Now, how does Doherty tap into all the things that Dwayne has, right? And so, and I'm using, Dwayne as a, representative of all the other folks that presented tonight. It's not just Dwayne.
And just to piggyback on that, so the goal, the Future Centers is a great vision. Our goal is to make sure kids walk into those Future Centers with second and third level questions, not first level questions as to what's there. We want them coming in like all people can with, hey, I know what I want, here's the fastest way to get there, instead of tell me what you have. So.
Can I add one thing?
Thank you.
So just a quick anecdote from today's presentations. We built into today's presentation, we talk about every single CTE pathway that a Coronado student can join. We talk about the Coronado pathways, the ones at Pikes Peak State College, the ones at the Watson campus. We made a decision to add the aviation program at Mitchell. We're building an airplane at Mitchell. We hope to be under contract in the next couple of weeks to introduce our first pilot training program where students will get flight time. We added that to the menu of options. Not a single Coronado student batted an eye at the fact that it was Mitchell.
Yeah.
Every one of those kids didn't have a problem. What they asked was, how do I sign up, and how do I get there? Right? So we've got a problem to solve. We've got demand because Mitchell has a product that everybody wants to know how to get a hold of. That's the world that the Future Center is going to drive, right? How many more Coronado students would demand aviation if they knew it was possible? And that's the Future Center.
Like, the real problem to have is let's build 2 airplanes.
Absolutely. It's a good problem to have, yeah.
Thank you. You're done, Director Ott. Just to what Director Ott was talking about, the food truck, keep us informed. The farm box.
Oh, as soon as we can serve, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And the farm box that you guys talked about, when it's up and running,
Yep.
please send us an invite and let us know that we can be there.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Hafley.
I don't have any questions, but what I do want to say is that I'm so impressed with the amount of choices that are given to the kids, because, I mean, ultimately, that's why we're all here, is to help these kids succeed and to have some sort of forethought and the presence of mind that you guys have going after the things that interest you. Good for you. You should always go after the things that interest you, even if interest A is completely different from interest B. Do them both, all right? So let me just say to you guys, hats off to the kids that are here. What an amazing opportunity. And again, for you guys to have the presence of mind, to have an idea about what you want for your future is just amazing. It's very impressive. And your initiative, it just speaks volumes to me. And I'm a former teacher. So I appreciate you guys. I'm so glad that you came here and that that you're talking about yourself and what you have accomplished. You should be doing that. And I'm so impressed with you guys.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments or questions, I do want to wrap it up by thanking all of you for being here. This is really exciting for you to come and share all this opportunity that is available for our students. How from even the middle school on, they can tap into the pathway of their choosing and the opportunities that are not only there for classroom education, but also internship and workforce pathways that soon after graduation they can step into. So I'm going to reinforce what has already been said, that we need to figure out ways to communicate this to our community. I'm a parent with a high school student, and I'm thinking like, hey, how can I minimize my tuition payment that I have to at some point in time fork out for my daughter? I mean, if there are opportunities out there that we as parents can capitalize on, our kids can take advantage of, TREP and Ascent and all those things. Thank you so much for bringing that together. Thank you for the students for being here. Superintendent Gall calls you Anthony. I want to call you Chef Anthony because you're like, dressed in a formal attire. I'll butcher your last name if I try to say it. So I'll go with Chef Anthony. And Abby, hopefully after you are done with it, you would consider coming and working with us. And Ms. Friesma, good to see you here. And your daughter was here talking to the board at the last board meeting. Here you are here. And Ms. Aragon, I've been in your classroom and sampled some of the cooking that your students have done. It's amazing what those students do out there. And Mr. Cole, thank you for the email that you sent to the board with all the accomplishments. I shared it with the board. Thank you all for Ms. Smith. You're also doing amazing work. Thank you all for being here and sharing some of the good, amazing things that's happening in District 11.
Great. Thank you all for your continued support. We appreciate the time.
Yeah, keep us informed about other things. Send us invites to school events and things so that whenever we can come and participate in one of your activities or help you guys out. We are always interested. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to switch over to the superintendent's report. If I could get the 4 students to come forward and give their teacher shout-outs. Caleb, I think you're first. Come on up.
Let me guess who Caleb is going to call. Is it Mr. Cole?
No.
Oh, okay, I thought.
So you just talking to the mic, it's on, you're ready to go, sit on down. You're the superintendent for the
Weird.
next 90 seconds.
Superintendent Caleb here. Very few teachers students get to interact with for the full 4 years of high school. Mr. Cole is one of these teachers. I've had him in classes, business classes. I've had him in personal finance. This semester, entrepreneurship. I've had him in CCR, and I've never met a teacher that truly cares. And if I'm being honest, he didn't want me to shout him out today. And he doesn't do it to get shout out. He does it because he truly cares.
Great, thank you, Caleb. Abigail, you're up.
I would like to shout out my old D11 digital teacher, and that is Mr. Richard Bragg. He was one of the best teachers I've had throughout the long time that I have been in District 11. He encouraged me to go after my dreams, and he encouraged me to, be able to get that confidence to ask for help when I need it. And he has shown me different pathways and has helped me grow and become a better person now. And I'm so beyond grateful for him and his work and his hard dedication to his students.
Awesome, thanks, Abigail.
Hello, I just wanted to give a shout out to Miss Aragon. Miss Aragon is probably one of my most favorite teachers I have ever had. And I went into Odyssey my sophomore year, and she was open, welcoming arms with me, and she gave me all the opportunities that I had that year. So I just want to say thank you, Miss Aragon.
I have 2 teachers to shout out. The first one is Miss Friesma because she's amazing and she's been such a role model and encouragement to me in wanting to be an educator. And then my other one is my current mentor teacher at Halbert Elementary, Mrs. Julie Morris. She is so incredibly caring for all of her students, and she is a great person to learn from.
Awesome, thanks, Abby. That is just my absolute favorite part of what we do is when we give students a chance to really personalize their thanks to the staff. I went all the way backward to Abigail's slide because Abigail is thanking Richard Bragg, who's no longer working in District 11. And she asked me, is it okay if I thank somebody that doesn't work here anymore? And I said, absolutely. And so particularly to the post-high school adults in the room, we all have a teacher that literally changed our life. So it doesn't matter if they work for the district anymore. When you get that chance to say thank you, Abigail gets the chance to thank Mr. Bragg. And so I appreciate Melissa standing in and doing her best Mr. Bragg. So
She did a good job. Great.
This is awesome. Okay, I'll go through the superintendent's report fairly quickly. Most of these are just quick updates on interesting new programs and opportunities that I love to be able to shout out. On Sunday, our unified basketball team will be up at the Ball Arena in Denver in the halftime event for the Pacers versus the Nuggets. This is just such a quick acceleration for a tremendous program of what our unified sports has done. If you can remember, one of our last program shout-outs were our unified athletes. And we talked a lot about what we did in bowling. And here we are, our kids will be playing Meade High School from St. Vrain during halftime of a professional sporting event. And for those of you who don't know, of course, a Palmer graduate happens to be on the championship Nuggets team, and Reggie Jackson is going to have his number worn by one of our students during the event there. So we're super excited for that. If Chris Knoll isn't here tonight and Scott as his supervisor, just please continue to reach out and thank him. We've given him all kinds of runway, and he is taking off and going to new heights for our kids. It's really exciting. I'm shouting out the Galileo Middle School STEM team, and so Phil Hutcherson and Carol Chapman put together a grant application for our students who will be serving here on the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow competition. Just one of 300 public and middle school high schools. And so bringing that idea of excellence into Galileo for our students, I happen to know one of the students in that picture, and I could not be more excited. For our privacy events, you can't say which kid that you know, blah, 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 blah. But this is a student that came to me last year and said, I want to be an astronaut, when he heard me talk about my Air Force background and career. And it's so incredible to see that there's now this follow-on opportunity for that one student, and of course expansively every student that's in that space. And so continuing to allow our children's dreams to define the way that we provide opportunity for them. That's what you heard earlier today. And so thank you so much for Galileo for the incredible work that you're doing. Principal Julia Scott's here if you want to stand up and take a bow for all the work that you're doing there. As our first year principal there, we're so excited to have you. I'm also excited to announce the D11 plus Philharmonic equals Phil Kids program. It's an arts partnership. All our 3rd to 5th graders, basically all our elementary schools, will get the chance to see a Philharmonic performance and hear an Olympian speak. So that's 5,600 kids that are going to get access to the arts. You heard it, or you saw it when you walked in. This is a district that is committed to seeing the value of what arts offer to both accelerate and to excite their students to be engaged in their own educational journey. They don't have to try out for the Philharmonic to be able to benefit from that experience. As a follow-on, 4 of our schools will be, in addition, invited to get a full tour of the Olympic and Paralympic Museum and get some further interaction with Olympians and Paralympians. So I certainly want to thank our leaders over at the Philharmonic, and of course our own Laura Lee McDaniel, for helping to put this program together. To our shout-outs, this is, we have a lot to make up for, so I've got just kind of a one-liner for each one of them. Becky over Special Ed EA over at Monroe. Positivity and Heart serves as the bright light in their school. We're so proud of that. Dustin Hayes at our warehouse. Dustin is the passing of the baton. He's taking over for a retiring employee, and he's proven to not only be the jack of all trades, he's been the master of them too. Sarah Scott as our payroll here at Central Office. Amazing customer support, solving problems with smiles and expertise. Jeff Lebold and our CAD engineering assistant, taking the dreams and the vision of what people want their space to look like and turning it into reality through the blueprints. My dad was a draftsman, so every time I see anybody that can actually take somebody else's idea and actually put it into a plan like that, really resonates for me, so I appreciate that. Heather over at Freedom, she's in our pre-K settings, and as a paraprofessional, helped us expand that pre-K program for all of our students. And she uses her heart and her love of cooking as developmental skills for our students. We all know that if you have a challenge with a kid, you give them a cookie, everything will be okay for about 30 seconds. And you give them too many cookies and you created a much larger problem. And then Melinda Jackson here as a health tech over at Rudy Elementary School, bringing genuine love that shines through in everything that she does. You enter with a bump, a bruise, or a bellyache, and you leave with a smile. So we appreciate that. Over to our teacher shout-outs. I have both both Sandra and Terry at Jackson Elementary School in helping break down our language barriers for our multi-language learners. And we have a very high population of language learners at Jackson. We appreciate their support. I'm flipping pages as fast as I can here. And then Miss Newarth over also at Freedom Elementary School, where we made a shout out earlier for pre-K, our second grade teacher, giving a perfect balance of both firm and loving support. And they have nominated her as the in-house staff cheerleader, which I'm not sure she wants that badge, but it's exciting. If you go to Freedom, it's just a real exciting building to be in. And then over to Taylor over at Doherty High School, teaching our applied tech, is really just focused on also developing life skills for our kids. And I think, again, you saw that in our program supports today that we talked about through our CTE pathways. Not only do you need to know how to do it, you need to know how to work in a workplace to be able to prove that you can do it. So we're incredibly excited for that. I also want to share with the board and with our community and our new engagement team, we've adopted a checklist on how it is that we'll be announcing new executives. Any member of our team is critically important, but for all incoming principals, executive directors, and chiefs, here's our checklist. And with that, we have a couple of folks that were late in announcing that I want to share with today. Wendy, if you could please stand up. Wendy Swearingen has been now for about 45 days our leader over at Adult Ed, and so we're super excited for that. Dr. Jessica Wise, if you could stand up, she is here as well as our interim executive director for engagement, and our esteemed former principal of Chipeta, Miss Sarah Scott, is our interim area superintendent for our central area schools. She is out with all the other area superintendents and our chief academic officer at our UVA partnership at an offsite for further enhancement of our instructional leadership. So hats off to them. And so again, back to the checklist in fulfilling some of our need to continue to communicate both with the board and our community. This will be the regular way that we do this. And so you'll start to see this as part of the spotlight as well. And that's all I've got to say about that. So,
thank you. And welcome Ms. Swearingen and Dr. Weiss too. And Sarah Scott. Thank you. Board members, do you have any? No. I'm not going to the comments. I was going to say if they had any comments or questions to Superintendent. I'll let them. Yep. That's fine. I'm just waiting for a minute for people to walk out. So thank you so much. Thank you, Superintendent Gall, for sharing that report with us. Especially, I'm excited that third and fifth grade students, what you talked about, that partnership with Philharmonic. Is that going to be every year that third and fifth grade students are going to be?
I'll say it, yes.
Okay.
Sure. So I'll put the Philharmonic on the hook, and I'll put our schools on the hook. Yeah.
Okay,
Our
great.
students need regular access to the arts, and that's a great way to showcase it. Again, we keep rethinking about what is the advantage that District 11 has. The advantage that District 11 has is all the destinations for partnerships are within our geographic boundaries. So why should we not be the district that has the most robust partnership with the Philharmonic? I certainly don't want to exclude any child to have access to the Philharmonic, but yes, we'll do it every year, no matter what it takes, because the Philharmonic is a stone's throw from my apartment right here in the heart of the city.
Thank you. And maybe even the Olympic and the Paralympic Museum, since you're talking about that. Thank you for that report. Moving on to the next agenda item, public comments. We do have public comments? Okay. So I have two public comments. Going quickly over the board protocol for public comments. First and foremost, board meetings are primary business meetings for the orderly and efficient conduct of the business of the district. The board is very interested in listening to community feedback as it helps us better do our work. The clear expectation is that the feedback is provided in a civil, professional, and courteous manner without resorting to disparaging or defamatory remarks or obscene comments. You will have 3 minutes to deliver your remarks, so please monitor the clock on the screen and complete your comments in the allotted time. If you want to show support or solidarity to a speaker, please stand as the speaker is talking or use silent applause. Lastly, the statements made by the public do not reflect the views of the board or the district. with that, the first public comment that I have, Joel Sorensen.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent Gall. Happy New Year and happy School Board Appreciation Month. I wanted to speak to you briefly tonight to wish you an energetic and successful term as you begin your first year as a new school board. In 2021, you were elected with a mandate to restore Colorado Springs School District 11 to her former glory, to renew its focus on academics and the success of students, not politics or ideology. And in the face of at times deafening personal attacks and animus, you did not respond in kind. You moved forward with grace and resolution. In 2023, D11 saw your success and renewed your mandate in an astonishing numbers for an off-year election. You have had an opportunity that is uncommon in D11's recent history. It is an opportunity to bring real, meaningful change to the district. You're improving the lives and the futures of thousands of kids. Thank you for your service to D11. I also want to add that, Superintendent Gall, you highlighted Mrs. Newharth, who was my second grade teacher at Freedom Elementary, and what you said was right on the money. Awesome, just wonderful woman who, in second grade, I would take number 2 pencils and just fidgeting, I would rip the erasers off of them underneath desks. And she had, I still remember it to this day, just this awesome combination of exactly what you said. Like, it was very kind to me, and yet at the same time, showed me the discipline that I needed with that. So it was very accurate. And I would also say with the dual enrollment thing, I just recently graduated UCCS a year and a half early because of dual enrollment. It's the best decision I ever made. So you guys really are, I mean it when I say you're truly impacting kids' lives. So thank you so much for all you do.
Please, no applause. Thank you. Ms. Josephine Lopez. Josephine Lopez.
That was a great speaker just before me. I'm not sure I want to follow his footsteps. The reason I signed up to speak to you for these 3 minutes was just to let you know how much I appreciate you. When I was here about 2 years ago, Mitchell was starting a new program, and there were a lot of angry people on one side of the room and supporters on the other side of the room. And so I think you folks have stayed the course. I want to thank you for staying focused and pushing hard to bring up our test scores. That was amazing. They were in the toilet, and now we went from pretty much the bottom to somewhere in the middle of school districts in the state. And that's a dramatic turnaround. And listening to what is going on with the district, the speakers before me, I'm just so impressed. And you managed to do this without dropping enrichment programs and fine arts programs, athletics, vocation training, and now you've got all these partnerships going on. And so I appreciate that. Thank you for listening to the parents, the teachers, the principals, students, and community to find out what it would do to bring up these scores. Thank you for choosing a great superintendent for the job. Thank you for approving the Pikes Peak State College Dream Program. And now we've got UCCS, you're reaching out to Colorado College. We have just so many exciting things going on. Thank you for putting in long unpaid hours with such dedication and dealing with an adversarial union and some angry vocal parents. I too was a teacher, and I too belonged to the teacher union. I joined because I watched an excellent teacher walk out of the classroom. She was walked out by a security guard in front of the kids because of an angry principal, and it was more of a personality problem. And I joined the union to protect myself. Other teachers joined because they would like better pay and working conditions. Being a teacher is a difficult job. But the point I am making is that not all teachers are in lockstep with the radical agenda that now seems to define the NEA. For me, when their publication claimed that the mindset of compliance and obedience is centered in whiteness, I stopped reading the publications. A teacher friend of mine in Denver teaches high school math, and he cannot wait to retire. Did you know that 50% of Colorado teachers would quit if they could?
So your time is done, Ms. Lopez. 3 minutes are done. So
Am I out of time?
Yeah, you are out of time.
All right.
So
Well,
you can certainly.
I didn't even get halfway through this,
But,
but I am just so impressed. 15 years ago, I don't think I would have enrolled my own students in this district, even though I was teaching in it. And I want you to know that
Thank
I
you.
would be delighted
Thank you.
to enroll them now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you can email the rest of the comments if you have to the rest of the board. I mean, the email addresses on the district website, so please do. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your feedback with the board. Appreciate it. Moving on, board member reports. Board members, does anybody want to go first? Share some of your, over the past month, board member reports. I see nobody lighting up. Okay. Seeing none, I guess. That's great. I'm going to quickly share a few things. So since you guys have all let go of your 3 minutes, I think I get to speak for 21 minutes. Do I have the PowerPoint, the remote, or whatever it is? But I want to give a huge shout out to Pikes Peak United Way. I'm catching up from December. Pikes Peak United Way and all the sponsors who are listed in the far right-hand corner in that pictures out there made Christmas magical for all the students at Carver and Edison Elementary. That's put together 500 students out there. Each of those students got 2 gifts that they got to open. And if you can look at the joy on some of the kids' faces as they are opening the gifts, and several directors were there at different times of the day, but some of these gifts that the students were receiving were even basic items that they did not have an opportunity otherwise to receive, warm pajamas or socks to keep them warm, or shoes that unfortunately sometimes families find themselves in a difficult position that they cannot because of the challenges and difficulties offered. So when we have community partners like Pikes Peak United Way and Phil Long Hyundai, who were here before, step up and provide this type of support, it's heartwarming and reinforces the goodness in our community. I want to give a huge shout out to Cindy Aubrey, Heather Steinman, and the folks at United Way, including Dan Nordberg, who is the board chair out there, for the passion that you guys show, the sweat that you guys put into this, wrapping up all these gifts. Those are some dedicated force. Collectively, you have this board's gratitude. And Superintendent Gall already talked about the Unified League, and Chris Knoll was here at the board meeting last month, and he shared about how we had unified bowling, and it was going to expand into unified basketball, and this was at the kickoff at Coronado that took place, and just seeing the same opportunities for some of our students. For those of you who don't know what unified sports are, our special needs kids partner with our students and get to participate in sports, seeing the joy in their faces. And again, a community partner came through in Shield. They provided in the far right-hand corner, you can see new shoes for every one of those students that got to not only shoes, but also basketball and everything out there. Seeing just their joy in their face, how they light up out there. Some of these students have faced challenging school environments for no fault of their own, but seeing that they are now part of their community, and the student body is embracing them, this is also going to help them translate into classroom achievement in the classrooms, that when they do struggle in the classrooms, they know that they can reach out to a peer in the classroom and ask for support. Superintendent Gall already talked about the Nuggets game this weekend. If you are there, cheer our students on at the game out there. There were a lot of holiday events there were a lot of holiday events. There were a lot of holiday events. I can stop it, but Freedom was not going to be happy that I didn't talk about their students. A lot of holiday events through the holiday season, and I just want to, I was at some of them, the Freedom Elementary School students did an amazing job highlighting some of the various holidays that are celebrated culturally throughout the country, and they put on an amazing candle show performance. I want to give a shout out to the music teacher out there, Mrs. Yand, and Superintendent Gall talked about this at the beginning. We are going to have prelude performance at the beginning of every board meeting. We didn't see the prelude today because we were in executive session, but if you come a little bit early at a board meeting, you will see our arts, visual arts and performing students out there. And last thing, I'll end with this. On early January, just last week, we had the ESP conference out there. And I want to give a shout out. Kevin Cook, I see you back here again. So welcome back. I know that you went through a difficult time at the, it's good to see you in person at the board meeting, but Scott too. And the participation was great. Just looking at the audience was full. I just want to quickly play this video, play it.
All right, Eric Gustafson from Monroe Elementary.
And who do we have here you're representing?
Oh, I'm representing Slash.
Excellent.
So it was the 80s theme, so people were dressed in costumes.
All right. Somebody help me watch my
There were dance classes.
Hi guys, thank you so much for coming out. We enjoyed talking to all of you.
It was just good to see all the ESP folks that we not normally, they don't get to interact with each other all in a room, get to socialize, get to interact with each other and engage in that manner. I know some of the board members were there to see that too. So thank you. Things like those don't happen when you don't have the planning behind the scenes. So thank you for the both of you behind, and Connie and Cynthia and all of them putting this event together. Thank you. And that's all I have. I think I went up over by a couple of minutes, and I will watch it more so going forward. Consent items. Director Art, can you please make the motion to adopt the consent items?
Yes. I move that the Board of Education adopts all consent items as designated in the agenda. The consent items are E2, approval of December 13th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. E3, approval of January 3rd, 2024 special meeting minutes. E4, personnel recommendations for January 10th, 2024. E5, adoption of recommended revisions to policy KBBA, custodial and non-custodial parent rights and responsibilities. E6, adoption of the recommended revisions to policy EEAG, transportation in private vehicles. And E7, approval of the closure of District 11 schools and sites on Thursday, December 14th, 2023, the 1-hour delay for staff on Friday, January 5th, 2024, a district professional development day with no students, and the 2-hour delay for all staff and students on Monday, January 8th, 2024, due to inclement weather.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Director Bankus? Aye. Director Hafley?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson? Aye. Director Ott?
Aye.
Director Carey?
Aye.
That's what I thought. You missed. That was probably from earlier today when Director Carey wasn't present. But ayes have it. The consent items have been adopted as presented. Moving on, there are no, to action item, there are no contract awards. There are no budget transfers, appropriations, or FTE approval. So moving on to the non-action items, we have the first item, policy IJOA, field trips. This is new information. Superintendent Gall.
Dr. X.
Dr. X is here.
Thank you, Superintendent Gall, President Malpacum, members of the board. Policy IJOA and supporting regulations are being revised for general cleanup and to align with new practices regarding school and district field trips. Revisions include position title changes and clarity around travel distances. New procedures include general language supporting electronic field trip forms and processing, and the addition of general liability insurance practices. That is in Exhibit 2. It is recommended the Board of Education adopts the revised policy IJOA and supporting regulations.
Thank you. Board members, any questions on the policy IJOA, the revisions that were made? Director Nelson.
Yeah, I had a question on IJOA. It talks about background checks. I'm trying to find it. It's the last paragraph on 3 of 3, page 3 of 3. I can just read it. It says, volunteers participating in overnight field trip activities must pass an extensive background check. If a volunteer is a district employee and or a district student under the age of 18, he or she is not required to pass background checks. I assume if they're an employee, it's because they've already passed one, but I'm just wondering if we should state that, or, I don't know, like as a parent, and you read that, maybe it's a little redundant, but I don't know if all parents know that all employees pass background checks. Like, it just seems like this group of people doesn't have to do it. So, just putting it out there for the rest of the board to consider.
All teachers have to go through a background check in order to get their license.
So maybe that's just a very well-known thing that all parents know, that all staff, I mean, I take this to be not just teachers, but, you know, any employee, ESP, and.
Isn't that a procedure for human resources?
I know that licensed teachers are.
Are all ESP back?
Everyone, all employees. All employees.
So is it too much to add, like, because district employees are, I don't know, are already background checked?
Yeah,
It just seems like we're.
If it's the will of the board to put that in there, we can do that.
Do you guys know, do you want to pull it up and look, or if you disagree, by all means. But.
Well, is it redundant? Are you asking for another background check, or just state
No,
that?
just stating they already have been, had background checks, because the way you read this right now, it does not clearly indicate that they already have been.
What's the will of the board on that? If I can get a thumbs up for Director Jorgensen.
You have a majority of people on the board who have been in education, so we already kind of know that as like we all get background checked. But I think if it's the general public reading this and they want to make sure their kids are safe on field trips, I have no qualm about just adding, because they are already background checked and approved.
Right.
Something simple like that would be fine for me.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you need to say because they're under the age of 18 or because they're a minor, they don't have to be background checked.
I go the minor route.
Yeah. And state that then.
Yeah, and it also says, I think under the age of 18, they are not permitted to be alone with other minor students without adult supervision.
Yes, it does specify that.
So, is the board, by a show of thumbs, okay to adding the language that we are not asking for additional background checks, that staff have already, just a statement out there just says staff have been gone through the background check, something to that effect. Is that the will of the board? I need a show of thumbs. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, could you add that language?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just little language. It doesn't need to come back. Just a language reflecting, capturing that sentiment that for the public to know that staff are also gone through that background check. Okay. Any other, Director Nelson, are you done?
No, I have one
Okay.
more on R-2. Okay, this one is,
So you're now talking about the regulation.
yes. Under the partnership, I'm finding it.
Student guardian requirements?
So it's page 1 of 3 at the very bottom. Partnership organization requirements, mission, vision must align to district mission, vision, and equity policy. I just wonder if we should say something to the effect of service provided must align with district mission and vision and adhere to board policy. Just all board policies are important and relevant, not just one. And I'm just assuming another outside organization isn't going to have the same mission and vision as the district. So just the service that they're providing us needs to align with our own mission and vision. So just wordsmith it a little bit. I'll read it again. Service provided must align with district mission and vision and adhere to board policy.
And just to provide some feedback to, usually we don't get involved in the language of regulations, and the board doesn't. We can certainly provide that feedback to Superintendent Gall. The superintendent is responsible for developing the regulations, and if we want to provide feedback, we can provide that to Superintendent Gall, and he can work on the language.
Happy to look at it.
Okay.
And take those comments for action.
Okay.
And if that's the will of the board, let me be clear on that.
Yep.
So just so I'm clear, is now not the appropriate time?
No, you can certainly, because it's on the board. All I'm saying is the board doesn't approve the regulations. We only approve policies.
Yeah, that's something else I've been wondering about. So we'll just have another conversation later on that.
Okay.
And because we have to make sure that they're fulfilling policy, so there has to be some back and forth. But, okay, so do you guys need me to read it again on whether you want to thumbs up it or not?
Sure.
Okay, so changing out number 1 under partnership organization requirements, service provided must align with district mission and vision and adhere to board policy.
Okay. Is that agreeable to the board, that feedback that goes to Superintendent Gall? Okay. Okay. You have that feedback, Superintendent Gall. Okay. Anything else, Director Nelson?
I'm not on this one. On BID, I do.
You have something on the field trip policy still?
No.
Okay.
On the next one.
Okay, but let's finish the field trip policy first. Any other questions from the board on the field trip policy that was in place? If you can pull that IJOA red line version, Ms. Olson. So is there a reason why, if you pull that down a little bit, that 100-mile restriction or whatever it is was removed? Just curious, what was the reasoning between taking that out from the standard field trip and non-standard field trip? Was there a reason why that was removed?
In terms of 100 miles, I don't know the specifics behind the 100 miles and why that was done. I just know that they changed it lower on bullet point 5 to just make it an out-of-state travel and then one inside of the state.
Well, the way I read it is initially the standard field trip was going to be a day trip and it was going to be within 100 miles, and a non-standard field trip was going to be beyond 100 miles. So that has been removed. So do students go on field trip that is more than 100 miles in a day right now? Is that what's happening?
I couldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's easy to think that we're 80 miles from the heart of Denver, that a 100-mile field trip is pretty easy to have happen, particularly from the south side of town.
Yep. Yeah. Just curious what went into the rationale behind removing that language, but maybe travel has become a lot easier now, and students travel a longer way. And then it addresses field trips that are sanctioned by the district and field trips that are not sponsored by the district. Just curious, maybe somebody from administration wants to answer. It looks like the field trips that are sponsored by the district, we have ownership, we have liability, we have to, go through all the things. But if it's non-sanctioned field trip by the district, it says a field trip is considered district sponsored when the field trip has received approval by the principal, and then there is the regulation 1. If you go back out there, Ms. Olson, to the regulation 1, it talks about non-sanctioned field trip when you go to the bottom out there. I'm just curious, are there any checks and balances for those field trips, or are we just saying when it's non-sanctioned, go up a little bit? Yeah, number 2 bullet points. Field trip organized independently by employees, students, or commercial will not be considered district sponsored. So if it is not district sponsored, are we not liable in any way, shape, or form? It's that employee that's putting that together. I just wonder if something goes on, wrong on that field trip, in any way, shape, or form, is the district liable, or we are not held in any way? Because
I would have to circle back with you on that one because I don't know.
Okay.
Is that my timer?
No.
Am I done?
Sure.
I'd have to circle back and
okay.
Because I don't know about that process directly, and I want to make sure that I give you the right answer.
I think the distinction we're going to want to make is that's not a field trip, right? And so if you go to Greece on the thing that is on the bulletin board in a high school that says for $8,000, go with the Greg X tour of Greece through the Greg X Greece tour company, they obviously own that liability. But I think if we're going to wordsmith all this, I think the appropriate language is that's not a field trip. There are only sanctioned field trips of which we have policy and regulation on. If a mom or a dad says, hey, these 8 kids want to go skiing with me, and they're coordinating that through friends at the school, that's a personal thing of which that parent is liable for. So I think the distinction we're going to want to make is that there are only sanctioned field trips. There could be no unsanctioned field trip. Then it's not a field trip. It's a gathering. It's the thing that you buy into one way or another. But field trip to me sounds very organic and authentic to a school and its level of responsibility. Okay. So I don't know, is that covered in the policy as well? Did the policy speak about?
The policy briefly mentions it. It's more in the regulation. So you guys can figure that out. I just wanted to ask the question about what happens in non-district sponsored field trips. If something happens in that trip, the media is still going to come and ask us questions about something going wrong. Just wanted to make sure that we as a district are not liable in that case. The main feedback that came from Director Nelson out there, I think the language was captured, what she suggested for the regulation, and also remind me again, Director Nelson, did you say something on the the one about the staff being the language you wanted to add about staff being vetted. So if you can add that language. With that language addition, can this go to consent? Show of thumbs. Okay. So just that language addition to policy itself. The policy is the one that comes in front of the board for consideration, and then superintendent for approval. Superintendent Gall can take the feedback from the board as far as the regulation goes. We good? Okay. Moving on to so this will come as consent at the next board meeting after the language change. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is policy BID, BIE, board member compensation. I'll hand it over to you again, Dr. X.
Policy BID/BIE is being revised to align with Board of Education Resolution 2024-06, Board Member Compensation. New language provides guidance on compensation and the required documentation and processes. Additional revisions include alignment to CASB sample language. The board has also been provided a red line version this evening that shows the edits made after the full legal review was done. And it is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the revisions to BID/BIE.
Okay. So this went through legal counsel. Legal has provided feedback on
Yes.
this. Okay. And it mirrors the resolution the board adopted in September.
Correct.
Okay. With that, questions from the board? Director Nelson.
I just want to make a quick recommendation to move the last sentence of the first paragraph down. It talks about expenses and reimbursements are limited to $3,500 per board member. And that seems like it would be a better fit to put that under the reimbursement section and not right before it's talking about compensation. So I would just move that sentence.
Yeah. I was going to suggest the same thing, so thank you for suggesting that. So it goes under reimbursements, right? Yeah.
And then I'm just curious, why is it, maybe you don't know this, but why is it BID/BIE? Why not just BID or BIE? Like when I look at all the rest of the policies in that series, it's just one.
Why do we have two alphabet soups attached?
Well, this is probably goes back to just our old way of coding it. I'd have to go back and look historically about why we have a BID/BIE.
EIEIO.
Yeah.
I was just curious. You don't need to edit it. I also had a quick question under the reimbursement. So it's saying that board members can use their $3,500 to like purchase a printer. Am I reading this correctly? Yeah, it's all the way down page 405.
Let's back up.
There it is. And then what do they mean by access to internet and email?
That's if you want, internet access at home, you provide for internet access at home. You can reimburse it. No board member has ever claimed it that I am aware of. So all of us have internet at home, and we do board business at home. Even during COVID, we all had to have internet at that time. But I don't remember any board member asking for internet reimbursement. If the board is comfortable with it, I would remove that language.
Yeah, that's, I guess, what I'm wondering, if we should remove that.
Yeah, we talked about the superintendent contract, and we don't provide them home internet thing. Why, if the board is comfortable with it, let's remove that language.
I get like the district cell phone, that makes sense to me, because I don't want my personal phone number out to the public if I'm gonna get hate phone calls. And same with the computer, but the internet one seems a little like.
Is the board comfortable removing access to internet from the thing out there?
And should we say printer too?
Printer too.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like a lot. I'm gonna buy a whole printer.
Well, I think previous board members have used
Hard
printer
copies.
cartridges.
Oh.
Printer cartridges. I've signed documents as a treasurer where they have claimed buying printer cartridges for their printer work, for printing documents or whatever it is.
Yeah, I could see that.
So
you want to leave that one?
it's up to the board. If you want to remove it, we can certainly remove it. And I don't know how many of us, some of these were written for 20, 30, 40 years back. Mr. Kaiser uses those at I don't know how many we rely on actually printed copies as opposed to in this day and age when we are relying on our devices more.
Maybe we just add printer supplies or cartridges, ink.
Yep. It says at the bottom, it says operating supplies, the fourth bullet point.
There you go.
Yeah.
Take out printer and take out access to internet.
Yep. Okay. If the board is comfortable with that, by a show of thumbs, okay? So remove printer and access to internet. And if you go back there, somewhere on the top up there, it talks about $30 or something for internet. Melissa, yeah, right there. Board members will be reimbursed communications. Okay, you would have to revise that to remove $30 per month for internet access too. We don't need that. It still says if you get to use your own personal phone and you don't want to avail the district phone that's given, you can, ask for $30 per month reimbursement. That's fair enough. If board members, and again, I don't know of any board members that have used that, but we can leave that in there if a board member doesn't want the district cell phone and are going to use their personal cell phone. Okay. Anything else that from you, Director Nelson? Okay. So a couple of things that I just want to bring to the board's attention more so than anything. If you just go back up a little bit, Ms. Olson, and maybe get some clarity on, bring it down a little bit. Yeah, I think, okay, right there, starting at the very top of the page, it talks about if, somewhere in there it says, if you are an officer of the board, you can get over and above the compensation that has been allocated. We have not done that. Officer positions get extra compensation for performing the duties. We've always considered every board member equally. So I'm happy to, if the board wants to, because I don't even know what the guidelines are. What is the amount extra that officer positions get over and above the $3,500 in reimbursements? There is no clarity on that. If we want to leave it in there, we can leave it in there. And the other question is, what happens if this has happened in recently time? If a board member goes beyond the $3,500, is there anything in this policy that addresses that? Or I think it clearly said $3,500 is the limit, right? Yep, go ahead, Director.
Thank you. I think a couple of us might be in danger of running over the 3,500 this year, to which I'm going to say thank you to Director Nelson for even suggesting we increase that amount, because if you want to go for extra training or a national conference or something, $3,500, if you're also doing things locally, goes pretty quickly. It's amazing. In here it says that the board must approve if we are to transfer between funds, which in the past, I don't think I don't recall having to do board approval, but it's right there in the old policy, or the original policy. So perhaps that's something we've just given a thumbs up to in a work session or something, and doesn't require a vote. But you are correct that if I just blow through my 3,500 and put in a claim for 4,000, what the treasurer would say no, presumably, and maybe you can make that transfer, but that I would say would be on the board member. If that answers your question, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so we can transfer, what you are saying is you can transfer money from another board member who hasn't used the $3,500 if that other board member is willing, to your account.
If they're willing, yes.
Yeah.
I don't.
But what if that opportunity is not available? If all board members are spending close to their limit or do not want to be gracious, do we leave it at $3,500, or do we come back and the board considers the present circumstances and makes a special recommendation in that case?
That would be my assumption, is we would come back. I don't, in the time I've been on the board, that's never been the case. Somebody's always not spending all their money. But we have a board that might do that, so, and more power to them if they're getting out and getting education and being in our community.
Director Nelson.
Yeah, just to speak to 2 years ago, we had a board member that went past the allotted amount, and I brought it to the rest of the board, and we approved giving them more money. And
But it didn't come from another board member's account. I think it came from the another board account, I think.
that's correct.
Yeah.
We could have
Yeah.
moved the funds
Yeah.
from another board member's account, but we had funds available in our supplies account or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we need to put language in policy for a what-if situation, or if we just kind of figure it out when it happens. I don't know.
Just case by case basis, if it comes in front of the board
talk it
yeah,
through.
could talk it over and provide that approval, like what we have done in the past. If it goes to 4,000, it's one thing. What if a board member comes and claims 12,000? Okay, then, yeah.
Well, and to speak to your point about the officer positions, next week I'm going to a class, and then that's out of state, and then it's 6 weeks online, but it's for education finance, so sort of related to my officer position, and I may then hit my limit by the end of the year. We'll see. So I could see how something like that would play out.
Well, it's just not spelled out in policy as to what that extra compensation for the officer position is. Is it like open-ended that officers, because of the virtue of having to, do their
Yeah, as the
work.
president, you go to a lot of more things than the
Yeah,
rest
so,
of us do.
yeah, I mean, but there is no guidance that's provided by the policy as to
I
what
guess
that limit should be.
I would just say we leave it, and then we'll just do it when it happens.
Okay,
Does that sound okay to everybody? Okay.
okay. So some of the changes that were recommended in the language change, and then, just if it provide some clarity for both of the situations if we go over the $3,500 limit, or for officer positions that they will approach the board and get a collective thumbs up from the board for that extra money over the $3,500 limit, or with the officer positions. If we can add some language there. I think there is some language already there. If we go about $3,500, so just combine that with the officer position too. Okay. With all those revisions that have been suggested, can this come back? Do you want to come to this to return as action, or can this move to consent? Consent is fine. Okay, consent. Move it to consent with the language revisions, and if the board looks at the language and has suggestions, we'll let you know at that time. Thank you so much, Dr. X. Moving on to the third item on the agenda, which is the mid-year modifications, mid-year budget modifications. I'll hand it over to you, Superintendent Gall, first.
Dr. Comfort and Ms. Hronik, and Amanda Huber. And anybody else that wants to sit in the front row? The clicker.
Oh, sorry.
Good evening, Board. Thanks for the opportunity to join you again. We are here presenting the mid-year budget update, joined by our Senior Executive Director of Finance, Ms. Laura Hronik, and our DAC Budget Subcommittee Chair, Amanda Huber. I do, before we get into the slideshow, want to acknowledge Ms. Hronik for her work. If you looked at the if you looked at the mid-year budget, that's another 80-page document that doesn't get done by itself. That's her spending significant time ensuring that everything is cross-referenced and checked. So I want to acknowledge that. Also want to thank Ms. Huber for being here. She will have the opportunity to come up and speak primarily around our mid-year requests, and we'll get to that in just a minute. I want to go through our budget update. So again, we're here, as we are every single year, for our mid-year modification conversation, and there's a few reasons why we would have changes to our original adopted budget. Primarily, the total program funding might change, and that's because of certified pupil count changes, the assessed valuation, which we had lots of conversations when we did the mill levy certification. We did see significant changes there. Also, per pupil revenue shifts might occur, and then there's negative factor adjustments. We also will review, and one of the reasons for changes is the audited financial statements, primarily the audited fund balance. What I will say is in a multi-million-dollar fund balance, Ms. Haranik's projections were only $1,100 off this year, which is pretty remarkable. And so that's a celebration, yeah. We also will go over staffing and then some other projections that were revised related to revenue and expenditures. Okay, so key changes to from the FY24 adopted budget. First, there was a $35.79 increase to the per pupil amount that we received from the state. That doesn't seem like a lot, but across 22,000 students, that can add up significantly. We also, again, as we discussed in the mill-levy certification, saw a significant reduction in the assessed valuation because of that state legislation that came into play. So when we adopted the budget, we didn't know that that state legislation was going to happen. And so we assumed a significantly larger assessed valuation, and that did draw down. All right. The other changes of why we would, or the other reason why we would see changes from the adopted budget is our enrollment. I do apologize to the board for making a last-second change to this slide. We were very prepared to come to you tonight with our certified that we submitted to CDE total count. And we were going to share those numbers with you. And then this morning at 6:42 a.m., CDE released their certified pupil count membership. Here's the really good news. Their number matched our number exactly. And most importantly, it is going to show, I can't say the number right now, but it is going to show that our total count as a system did add students. So remember, that would be one of the first times in over a decade, and really only one of the few times that that's happened in multiple decades. And so we will celebrate that. That is embargoed until next Wednesday, and then we'll be able to release that information showing that our total enrollment count did grow. Remember, total enrollment count includes everybody. Half-day preschool kids, charter school students, traditional school students, online. The count for enrollment is very complicated, but that is the number that CDE will release, and we're excited about that. Primarily, you're going to see in our total program funding a reduction of about $1.7 million from our original adopted budget. And that's largely because of our funded pupil count. We did see a reduction of 248 students. In terms of the funded pupil count, that's where all of those variables come into play. So that's where originally we projected an additional charter school in our enrollment. That didn't happen with SELA. We also projected an increase in our traditional schools, largely to protect staffing in our schools. And while we saw increases, we didn't see the complete increase that we projected last year. We also see the impacts of declining enrollment average and those numbers changing every year. Everything that has to do with funded count comes in, and we did see a 248 kid reduction from our adopted budget. And so that's why we will see that $1.7 million reduction in our total program fund. Okay. In terms of some other changes, we will collect less property taxes than we originally projected. I do want to be clear, that does not mean it's less property taxes than last year, but it is less than we projected in the adopted budget. We'll see some reductions in taxes collected. State equalization is increasing, and again, you'll see there that $1.783 million total program subtraction from our original budget. Now, across a 230, or when we're all in, $350 to $400 million budget, while all money matters, that is not a significant reduction for us. We also always want to discuss the impact of the negative factor. This year, that's a 1.6% impact, which is just over $4 million. You've heard the governor speak that in his budget proposal, they are looking to reduce the negative factor altogether. So if that were to happen right now, we would have $4.3 million more in our budget. Some other notable changes to the general fund. Again, you'll see there that $1,100 difference from our adopted and now mid-year fund balance. That's very accurate. We did see an increase in our categorical funds. Categorical funds are things like special education, English language, GT, and others. We also saw that we will increase our allocation to charters based on allocation or based on categoricals, because we have a unique program in our preschool program, Montessori program at Buena Vista, and now we have UPK, we're shifting over $140,000 to the preschool fund. And because we did not bring in CELA, we are not transferring $2.9 million additional dollars to our charter schools this year.
Can you go back just one?
Yep.
So the reduced tuition for Montessori program, how does that impact the program there? If you're taking their money?
It does not impact that. It's just where the funding source is. So Buena Vista, and Ms. Harana can step up. She has all the technical answers. Buena Vista is our one school where we have paid preschool. And so we have to, and we're talking about how we fix that for next year because of we didn't make any significant changes because we didn't know what was going to happen with UPK. And so now it's basically moving the money from one fund to another. So we're taking $140,000 from tuition, we're moving it to the preschool fund because that technically funds their program. And then the mid-year budget modifications, we will discuss that, I'm sure, in greater detail, but do want to acknowledge a couple of things. Number one, we did make this mid-year budget completely non-recurring. We do have concerns about our recurring budget going into next year, and so we didn't want to add to that burden, and so you'll see a $10.4 million mid-year request across those requests in the packet. What I will say is we feel very comfortable, Ms. Haranik and I, with that $10.4 million. We have tracked our fund balance very closely. We are tracking our projection for vacancy funds this year and what will be added to our fund balance next year, and we will still have a healthy fund balance next year, even with our ability to allocate $10.4 million to the mid-year budget and have strong compensation and continue to have non-reoccurring resources for some other needs. Some other changes that happened, a $3 million adjustment to salary and benefits. A couple of things happened. Number one, if you remember, our negotiations went pretty late last year, and so most of the budget was built, and so it was very difficult to go back in and make full-scale changes to the salary and benefits. And then also remember, we build a budget based on actuals, but primarily on average salaries. And so every single year, when we adjust to actuals, which is the big part of the mid-year budget, there's going to be a difference there. And this year, that's $3 million. Across $350 million, that's still less than 1%. We projected $310,000 more in instructional supply carryover than we actually will. And again, you're going to see some movement in terms of Montessori budgets to preschool program. That's a lot of what the mid-year budget is. It's about truing up. We do the best that we can in the spring to project how we're going to spend our money and what money is going to carry over. And then when we get to the mid-year is when we true all of those things up. Other changes to the general fund. You'll see here multi-year obligations, no changes there. Encumbrance carryover basically means POs, our purchase orders. So when we build the budget, we're not still completely certain on what's going to fully roll over to the next year, what's going to get spent before July 1, and so you'll see that adjustment there. The Tabor Reserve has small changes. Ample implementation. If you remember, actually I believe it was you, Director Nelson, last year in this conversation you said, hey, it looks like we still have $2.1 million in our AMP budget. And it didn't look like we had spent any because we're always a little behind in how we track the budget, right? And so what you see is not only did we spend a good amount of money last year supporting our AMP pathway schools, but we continue to do that this year. And then fund balance task force projects, you're not going to see any change largely because those are in design right now. Over $11 million of that $14 million is in our, I'm not supposed to call it a vestibule, secure and safe entrances. And so those are with Miss Hoteling in the capital program in design right now. They're looking really good. They're starting to talk to schools about what those new entrances would look like. And so that money will get spent. It just hasn't been spent yet because we're still in design phase. And then you'll see a couple of other changes. What you'll see there primarily is contingency. We go from $46 million to $40 million. That is because, in part, we are preparing to allocate part of the contingency fund to the mid-year budget. Also, we have spent some money over the course of the year in terms of contingency. $46 and $40 million is a large contingency. Historically, a solid contingency for this district is $20 to $25 million. Okay, now you got to remember, on top of that, we're also going to add vacancy money from this year, right? And so that's why we feel comfortable with the mid-year budget requests that are in front of you. And then finally, here's some changes to other funds. This is largely, again, because of the projection for carryover. So when you see 90 million to 76 million in grants, that's not because they lost $14 million. That's because when we built the budget in March and April of last year, and with everything related to ESSER, they didn't know completely what was going to happen last summer and what was all going to get spent. And so the budget number doesn't change, but what we carried over did change. And so that's where you'll see some of those impacts. We are continuing to monitor our employee benefits line closely to make sure that they maintain an appropriate fund balance and that we're never in risk with that. That is the mid-year budget presentation. I know we do want to talk about and have Ms. Huber step up and talk about the mid-year requests. Are there any questions from the board related to the slideshow?
Okay. Not on the mid-year budget yet. We haven't had the conversation, but on what Dr. Comfort presented just now, and the 80-page book, which is the mid-year budget, right? I see my dashboard lighting up, so so many questions. No, I don't. Director Art.
Since you really want some, just kind of a general question. Are we going to have a work session on this? Because if so, I will wait on my questions. If I'm the only one with questions, because I suspect they're just very straightforward. They could be answered in a straightforward way, but I haven't formulated them all yet. So then I could just talk to Mr. Comfort separately. I'm happy to do either.
Well, it's not scheduled for a work session as of yet next week, but it's the will of the board based on the conversation that happens today. If you have too many questions that is not going to be answered in this environment, we can certainly move to a work session. But let's give it an opportunity first to see if questions can be answered here before it can go there. But if there are considerable amount of questions and this is going well past the 1 hour allotment, then we can certainly go in that direction.
Does Amanda have a presentation? Do we want to let that happen before we decide whether or not we need work session? Or
I have just maybe 1 minute talking.
yeah.
Okay. But that's on the mid-year budget process itself, right? The mid-year budget request and all those things. Are we going to talk about the mid-year part? Anything that you need to, the board has had an opportunity to look at the mid-year budget that was posted on board docs. We don't need an item, if that's the board's will, we are not going item by item presentation, but it's more so if you have specific questions on specific requests, we can certainly consider that. Is there anything else that you have as presentation at this point in time, Dr. Comfort?
We do have some brief commentary about the mid-year process. Director Ott, I'm happy if we have a work session to answer your questions. I'm also happy to answer your questions offline and provide as detailed responses as needed. I do, before Ms. Huber steps up and talks about the mid-year requests, I do want to say we're very proud of our mid-year budget that we're bringing in front of you. We are needing to fix how we build some budgets in this system. I'll acknowledge that openly and honestly. That's why you saw some requests that we highlighted as green. That's basically because we don't have an option to not do those, right? We're obligated to that, and that's over 50% of our mid-year requests. If you throw in our ERP of $3 million, it's over like 85%. The remainder of our mid-year requests, while they're not mighty, are primarily instructionally focused, and we continue to be focused on ensuring that we're aligning our resources to our highest priority need. And so proud of the mid-year budget that we're bringing in front of you. We'll call up Ms. Huber and allow her to share what she'd like.
Okay. Ms. Olson, when as Ms. Huber is coming up, if you can pull that spreadsheet that lists all the mid-year budget requests. It's a 2-page document, I think, that's on board docs. Welcome, Ms. Huber.
We're very happy with the budget as presented. We had a lot of commentary and questions, as we always do. I tried to capture those and make them quite succinct.
That's the one.
I would highly recommend not a work session if there's a possible way to maybe have some of these questions answered before that process. The amount of time that goes into these discussions is pretty lengthy. If you have further questions, you can always reach out to me or Luann Long or Dr. Comfort, who's also been there. We did not share any of our comments or questions regarding the required items, mostly because I was trying to get that within 7 pages or so, because I thought that would be the length that would be most favorable to the board. Is there any other questions that you all have?
Any other feedback or takeaway from the DAC budget subcommittee meetings? I know that you guys do a thorough job, and thank you for the report itself that you presented to the board. Hopefully the board had an opportunity to read your feedback too. Looks like the process went really well.
Really well, and I was happy to see that the budget committee feedback was taken into consideration when it went back for review, and that they were honoring, I think, a lot of these board priorities throughout their process. It was good to see teams come together, and even the ones that couldn't be funded, it's nice to see what we could maybe have in the future. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that feedback. Board, are there any questions for Ms. Huber and the DAC budget subcommittee? Looks like Director Nelson wants you back, Ms. Huber. Director Nelson.
Just a comment and a gratitude to the committee and to you, Ms. Huber, for putting together this report. It's amazing, like super helpful in how you took, I was present at those committee meetings, and you really made it very concise, the questions and feedback that people were giving, and so thank you for making our job easier by putting this together. Really appreciate you. And then quick question for, I don't know, maybe you, Dr. Comfort, just that there were original amounts requested, and then you were able, I don't know if it was you or working with the person requesting, to make the $80 size smaller, and just wondering how you came to that process.
Yeah, we did need to work within a budget, right? And as there is in every budget, there were more requests than money that we felt comfortable allocating in this process. And so there are some things that were non-negotiable. We really couldn't adjust those prices. But largely, what we found with requests is people had an amount, and when we said, hey, if I cut that by 20% and you got 80%, is that still really meaningful for you? And the answer was yes to that. And so then we pretty equally tried to adjust the items to make sure that we fell within our budget.
Yeah, I think it's really important to comment that it was both a prioritization and then a right sizing or a right fit. So some items, as we went through and tried to meet the bogey as provided by Dr. Comfort and Laura, we just eliminated outright and said it's just not the right time for that. Yes, we would love to do that. It's a great initiative. We really want to get there, but in priority against some of the other initiatives, we felt that it just wasn't the right time to give a 75 or an 80% solution to it. And then the things that we felt that we really needed to deliver on the board priorities, we found the way to right size them to make it fit. So it was, the reason I say it is I don't ever want anyone to think that we build budget on what I call peanut butter spread. So let's just say the governor gives us 10% less than they've ever given us before. The answer is not every program takes a 10% cut. When you are placed with budget pressure, it's a real good time for you to think about what are the initiatives, what are the programs, what are the strategies that are most likely to deliver, and sometimes you have to make a hard call. And so we did make a hard call on some things that made it all the way up and through the DAC budget subcommittee. And then in final small group conversation, this is the budget recommendations that we're making for mid-year to the Board of Education. Some of those items just fell off completely.
Thank you for the pre-work that took place. Just my one comment is when I look through a lot of these, we're funding them through non-recurring dollars, but I absolutely see that they could be recurring needs. And, football helmets is next year hockey helmets. I just see that I know, Dr. Comfort, you're really working hard at building our budget in the future to make sure we're anticipating some of these needs instead of relying on the mid-year requests, which is how the district has been operating for so long. So thank you for kind of taking a step back at this time and forcing us to look at strategies and priorities. And
we're significantly tighter this year than we were last year on that, and so there are less things that our chiefs brought to us as, well, I normally just pay for it at a mid-year. We have seen a dramatic change in programming behavior by chiefs to see that they own You can see the green areas are great challenges. For us to be overcommitted on promises that we made to staff, we have to deliver on that. But to be that far off tells you, again, why we say we want to go to a new ERP. We need closer and clearer understanding of what it is that we budget and then what it is that we hire and then how it is that we pay. Just the truing up of building a budget on average salary to actual salary. There's a mid-year budget process, but we ought to be tracking that literally every week and every day to not then think we have $10.5 million to spend, of which 2/3 of that is already spent by must-fill pays.
Absolutely. And just thank you, Ms. Hronik, for your hard work and the conversation we had offline, just helping me understand some of the numbers. So good job.
Yeah, I do want to respond, Director Nelson, briefly. We will no longer rely on the mid-year budget to address our budget challenges.
Do you hear
right?
that, everyone?
And so we have been clear and loud about that. We were in DAC Budget Subcommittee, we were in Executive Cabinet, we have been in every budget build. We are actually, we started our budget build process significantly earlier this year. We're using the transition to our AlaView tool as the reason to do that. But we are having our chiefs and their teams go all the way back to zero and say, now with what you know about your obligations and your priorities, build your budget from scratch. And that takes a lot of time, and so I wanna congratulate and say thank you to the chiefs who are taking all of that time to do that. But that's what's gonna stop us from being in this position in the future, right? And if you were in the DAC Budget Subcommittee meeting, you heard many of these presenters say, I am building that into my recurring budget for next year. Now that might mean other things that they've historically funded might not happen, but we are being more strategic and prioritized and not reliant on, hey, we have a pot of money in the middle of the year. Hopefully that covers what we need it to cover.
Yeah. My one comment on one item, the vape detectors.
It was removed.
Oh, it was removed?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was removed.
I feel like
In
I just saw
it came in the original thing, but it was
okay.
removed.
All right, then. I was just going to say, would that make sense to roll it up into the academic master plan, facilities master plan?
And that's exactly what we discussed.
job.
Is while we're building 5-year capital plans, that in every high school that should just be a part of their capital plan.
And
That's
I
non-negotiable.
know that I heard in the committee's talk of it, they're placed in the bathrooms, and if we're remodeling bathrooms,
Yeah.
and maybe the people we had do the security safety audit have more ideas on how we can better facilitate that, because I heard mixed reviews on it working well or not. So.
And although we won't get it to market fast enough, the project that the Galileo students are working on is on vape detection in bathrooms that is non-destructible. Because the problem we have right now is if you put it in where you can see it, kids go up and they tear it down and they vape away. So I don't know if they'll disguise it as an LED light or a fire alarm or something like that, but kids will probably come up with a better answer than adults would, because we would just drill it in harder into the ceiling. That's what we would normally do.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your hard work.
Thank you, Director Nelson. Director Jurgensen.
All the other sentiments explained, I agree with. I'm wondering with the first line item there for Ashby 01, if that project's gonna be picked up by Ms. Weiss, okay, or is if there's a need to pause that while we look at what, marketing looks like. I know it's only 40,000 and a drop in the bucket here, but we saw the benefit of
we
keeping
saw a
to
strong
that.
return on investment, and so now we're determining what are the target areas for next year. And so that's why we make this a recommendation. What we would like to do is then take this out of mid-year budget adjustment and then turn it into the budget that we propose
Annual
for next year.
marketing. Cool.
Right, and so any of the things that you see that way, our conversation has been, now it's time that we have to fit it into the budget. Now, the problem with that is that's a big appetite, and so, will there be money as we come to the budget, not knowing what the SFA is and what the direction of the board will be on how to make those allocations. And then we have to, we will take advantage of vacancy funds again next year. So we don't want to use mid-year budget as a tool to get what we want, but we're never going to let the dollar go unspent.
So since Director Jurgensen just has done, just on the same line of questioning, I know that this is going to be for the West Side schools. Will we continue with something in the Northeast where we started off last year
Yeah, and so most of that marketing's been done, that work on the market research, and so then the republication is a much lower cost. And so just for folks to understand, these augmented contracts for how we seek to engage with our community, we don't want our principals to be marketing experts. I want our principals to be instructional leaders and strong engagers within their staff and their community on behalf of our students. We want to augment that by getting real marketing teams in to say, your school, tell us what it's about, and then we'll do the market comparison to say how it is that we think we can position you for stronger enrollment in the space. And so it doesn't mean that we don't want our principals to be good representations and salespeople of the work that they do, but asking a principal to develop a marketing plan or asking a 14-person size team to handle the marketing of 50-plus schools is inconsistent. So augmenting this in the areas that we think there are opportunities is the strategy that we propose to the board.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Gall. My only feedback is, since that marketing strategy and research has already been done for the Northeast schools, and there was a strong return on investment, we will continue to brochure and market
to
out
utilize
there.
that, yes.
Yeah, utilize
and so now
that.
we're moving our way around the city and determining where are the areas that are of greatest opportunity.
Any other feedback from the board on the mid-year budget requests? I don't see anything. I do have a few questions, but I don't see any other comment at this time. So just as a feedback that 2, 3, and 4, which are human resources and highlighted in green, we can't, looks like we severely under budgeted those, especially the guest staff compensation by over $2 million. So we, like what you said, Dr. Comfort, we just can't be in this situation coming forth. Hopefully we can project accordingly in the future. Just as a feedback, it's good that we have the contingency funds to cover it, but we can't be in a position. Just as a feedback for you, if you can pull that down a little bit. The transportation contract services too, which is about $1.5 million. My understanding is that over the next couple of years, this may go down a little bit, Superintendent Gall?
Yeah, our goal, we made some significant changes to our portfolio approach for transportation this year. We are down to 56 routes, 58 routes, and that has meant an increase in our sedan services. We also saw a dramatic increase in our McKinney-Vento services that we were able to provide, which is both a blessing because we can continue to transport our homeless student population to their original school, which is continuity for our kids, but it's a curse in the sense that it's very difficult to budget for that amount. So we don't anticipate having that large of a gap next year because we'll build a budget that's more reflective of the differentiation in between that portfolio approach.
Okay, and I'm glad to see the study abroad program back again. We heard about the students' experiences. Looks like we added Germany to this year.
Yeah, and so that's over budgeted, we hope, by we added one new country, but we also have to protect to understand how it is that we're going to compensate our traveling staff. There are some challenges in what the representation is for chaperones to be there to make sure our kids are in the right and safe space. So we've over budgeted that, and then that will roll into next year's budget build, so you shouldn't see that coming forward. But next year then, so this year we'll add Germany and then we'll add another country. We hope to be able to have the 4 countries at the $200,000 limit that we have there. And then I think we have 5 or 6 majority languages that are covered in our World Languages Department. My promise to them and the vision was that any class that we teach at a 3rd year level for language, that we would also have an international trip available for. So hopefully that will grow over subsequent years. We certainly heard positive feedback from both staff, community, and students.
Okay, and the professional development that we have under Tamra Acevedo, 8A, 8B, and the 8C, together they add up to $800,000. All I want to know is what's the timeline for that? Is that supposed to be all done this professional thing, development, text first planning, block planning, is that all?
That's all for the remainder of this year. And I think when you see the mid-year results that we'll brief next week in work session, you'll see that the strategies that Tamara has brought to bear are starting to pay very large dividends. We made a significant reduction to that original ask to right-size it into the amount of time that we had left. And I've asked Tamara to accelerate how it is that we take what it is that our consultants are bringing to bear and actually start to transfer that into the staff that we have on. Right now, if we were to do that without the consultants, we don't have the necessary skills or the number of people to be able to deliver that. So again, this is actually a really smart way to use non-recurring funds to achieve items that most districts would say would sit within a recurring budget. And so the amount of people that we are bringing to bear to the multifaceted professional development happening both at the principal and individual teacher level is only executable through consultants.
Okay. And hopefully, as we build that capacity in a 2 years' time, our dependence on the consultancy services will also reduce.
That's right. But again, to reiterate, a contract with a consultant is a non-recurring cost.
Yep.
So of which, if you planned every year for $500,000 worth of consultants, and then you run out of money because our mid-year budget is going the other way, you just no longer have the consultants come in. Making that an individual who's a recurring cost to the district, I can't imagine making 10 or 15% swings to curriculum and instruction every year because we're actually over budget.
If the board's priority, as it is behind me, it is always about students and academic growth and academic achievement and improvement in the classrooms, providing the support for our teachers, the TLCs, and text-first planning, it is going to have an impact. I am glad that we are supporting our teachers, especially our new first-year, second-year teachers who sometimes are thrown in the deep end of the pool without the support and resources. Now we are going to build their capacity.
That's right. And without telling too much for next week, you'll see that our ELA numbers at mid-year are the same as our math numbers. They're at 5%. So we're seeing 5% increase in achievement across the board. And last year when we did our mid-year data, we told you about our strong math growth and that we didn't have the strong ELA growth because we really hadn't had Tamara's team to get a chance to really lean into it. Tamara has brought text-first planning in and brought the consultants in to actually deliver, and the feedback has been constant and consistent and strong. And I would never hang my hat on mid-year data, but I'm certainly happy to tell you why it looks like the mid-year data is already achieving our end-of-year goals, and we hope for that to be predictive through the end of the year.
Maybe we can double that by the end of the year.
I actually challenged Tamara in our pre-brief on whether or not she's willing to say double digits next week, because double-digit growth is game-changing. Game-changing.
I'm just glad to see the support for the teachers, because it all goes back to investing more money directly closest to the students in the classrooms. And this provides the support that our teachers need in the classroom level. And I hope our teachers also recognize that we are going in strong on supporting them in the best first instruction in the classroom. Block planning, again, this is based on the feedback that we've got from the two high schools that have changed their schedule to block planning. I'm glad that we are providing some help and support to prepare those teachers to deliver the best quality instruction out there. Thank you for providing that. And then replacement of PeopleSoft. We have set aside $3 million, and I heard that wide fluctuation in those numbers up there. Are we comfortable with that $3 million? Is this, when it's all said and done, you may come and say it's going to be $6 million. What's the leeway out there? Is there anything, or are we close to $3 million out there?
I'll let Chief McCarron answer any specific questions. What I will say is we did have a conversation about this, and because we're still in that RFP stage, this is a reasonable amount of money. There are products that we can get that are $12 million, just like there are products that we can get that are only $1 million. And so we do have to set aside this for the RFP. I don't want to commit to the board that we won't have to come back and seek additional funding, but Mr. McCarron was comfortable with this number in terms of the type of product and the quality of product that District 11 needs.
You're good with that, Mr. McCarron? Great. The last thing to you, Superintendent Gall, the last item that is out there, it is the core team certified in change management. I'm glad that we are doing this for our core team. The only question I had is for you when I looked at this is at some point in time, the board also benefits from some of this work.
Yeah, I would love to take a look at that budget and the plans to go. I think they're actually planning on going in just a couple of weeks, shortly after approval, if we can get it. But it is I think there are several visits built into it. So in the same way that Director Nelson is attending some nationally recognized budget training, I think it's a great opportunity if there are board members that are interested to either include them in the core team that's going for the training, or for us to find a version of Train the Trainer where we bring it back to the board in a retreat.
Yeah, more so the latter than the former that you said. I don't know if we want to spend another $50,000 to send all 7 board members out there. But if we can benefit from some of this change management conversation, we are also learning, adapting to all these things that are happening out there. So we as a board may be better prepared. That's all I have. Any further, before I turn it back, any further thoughts from the board? Okay, so we don't, from what I heard, we haven't heard any. Okay, Director Art.
Thank you. It's not so much about what's on the screen now, though. So would you like me to go ahead and ask the question?
Is it related to the mid-year budget?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is it something that is going to take a lot of time? Do you want to handle it through
I don't think it'll
email?
I think it would be valuable
Okay.
for people's understanding. In the 80-page document, I'm just going to say on page 60 of it's like 64 in the PDF, but there's the designated purpose grants fund and some of the adjustments. It looks like over nearly 50 staff are impacted, and I think could we address the why for that? I believe it might be the fact that we just couldn't hire those people, or the fact that it is a grant. How does that?
I think some of those people were budgeted in ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, and they were the same people. Now that we're closing out ESSER 3, we're just going to say we're budgeting them in ESSER 3 only.
Okay.
It's not actual reductions in FTE.
All right, that's good to know. Thank you.
Is that it?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so it looks like from what I'm hearing, board members have asked all the questions that they need to at this point in time. Board, if you have additional questions after you sleep over it, please reach out to Dr. Comfort and copy Superintendent Gall in on that conversation. But this is not coming to a work session next week. This will come as an action item in 2 weeks' time. Thank you. And thank you for Ms. Heranik for all the work that you put in behind the scenes. And thank you, Ms. Huber. Please carry our gratitude to the entire DAC Budget Subcommittee. You guys put yeoman's work in providing the feedback to the board. Thank you.
And to all the team members that these leaders represent, there's a whole slew of people back there running numbers, mostly over the holidays too. Thank you.
Okay. Legislative agenda. This was a conversation that the board had at the work session last week, and this is just a carryover from that conversation. At every board member's right in front of you is this card-style format document. This is our prior legislative agenda. This is the format that we have adopted in the past. And as you can see, it is easy to hand it out to our legislators. It's not like a big piece of one piece of paper. It's in the card format. It's concise. It is something that can easy for people to hold in the palm of their hand and also carry without having to do a lot of reading, so forth too. So we do have added some bullet points based on the feedback that I received at the work session, I tried to compile all the individual board member feedback from the work session and also board members that reached out to me separately. I tried to capture as best as possible in this document out there. And this document is what you see out there is what is going to go in this back page up here. I don't even know if all this is going to fit in this style that is going to be up there. They have to go through the communications and the team out there before they fit it. But I tried as best as possible to keep it succinct while capturing the board feedback that I received. You had an opportunity to look at this document, and you can provide your feedback if you want certain things revised or certain things added, keeping in mind that do you want it in this format, or do you want to keep all the language as it was originally there? Then it's going to be a bigger style of document. I will open it up for questions. You guys can, now I can briefly walk over, go over what I captured out here. So for your awareness, since it talks about improving schools and student achievement on the top, I deleted that to increase student achievement. The second bullet point addresses what Director Jurgensen brought to the work session out there. The fourth bullet point I removed because it's redundant. The power of the local school boards we address separately. And then the consolidation of reduction of standardized testing, that's something the board wanted. I left it out there. The bullet point behind that was something Director Nelson had brought to me about workplace experience, and it also ties into that email the board got regarding Coronado robotics team. And then teacher shortages is another thing that this board is concerned about, that we will support legislation to address teacher shortages. And then if you pull down a little bit, Ms. Olson. This again, the negative factor and the budget stabilization factor. Director Art suggested that I leave the or negative factor in there, and that's a small revision. We will put that back in there. The second bullet point goes to Director Carey asking about special needs and it was two separate bullet points. So I just added the word unique needs. Hopefully that captures your thing instead of putting it as two bullet points. And then the last bullet point was School Finance Act that will negatively impact urban school districts, which we are. And then pull further down. The first unfunded mandates, removing the first bullet, I just captured it a little bit. The same thing that's in the first bullet, a little separately out there. That's what we have. The language in blue was the language that was originally came to me from individual board members. Instead of having that elaborate language, I just tried to capture it as best. Board feedback. Director Nelson.
Just thank you for working on this. Thank you for taking all the feedback and making all of the wording more succinct. Good job.
Thank you. So if I don't see any other feedback from the board, are we good with capturing the red line document and trying to put this in this? So that's what we have. I think there are some, Director Art pointed out some minor grammatical or where I cut out the document. I can point that out to you. It doesn't change the context of what's in the document. But I will work with you and put those things in there, those little changes that you suggested. Everything else. Is that why you... Okay. Okay, great. That will be captured. It's just, and you are really good at capturing that. So thank you for proofreading and making sure that we are putting together. So, okay. And then we've got the revisions. So we are good with this. This will come in 2 weeks as an action item. I briefly exchanged an email with the lobbyist, Mr. Pepper, Dylan Pepper. He just said that he's busy because he is getting prepared for the legislative session to start. I think he said it starts tomorrow. Okay. Okay. Maybe the email came from him yesterday when he said tomorrow. He is looking forward to working with us and providing periodic updates. So with that, thank you. That went really quickly. I thought that was going to be a longer conversation. So moving on to the next item on the agenda, designation of official posting location of education meetings and notices. This is required that we do it. I think it's outside the boardroom out there and also on the website. Isn't that right, Ms. Olson? Okay. Any questions on that or this? Okay. Can this go to consent? Do you know it can go to consent? Can this go to consent? Great. Okay. So move that to consent. Can legislative agenda go to consent too? Okay. Legislative agenda to consent, so it doesn't come as action. Great. Okay. So all of those looks like IJOA, BID, BIE, legislative agenda, the things all 4 of those go to consent with the mid-year budget coming as an action item in 2 weeks. Okay, future agenda item and task request. I looked at the board. I do want to address something with the board, but I can wait until if you have any specific request first. Okay, seeing none, I know that I talked to Director Carey and Director Hafley also asked me the question about school visits, and you got that email from Director Jurgensen about your school visits. So what's the protocol? What's the expectations was the question. I thought it would be easier to answer it, and maybe other board members can chime in on this too. 2 years back this started, and the board at that time expressed an interest that we want to be visible in schools. And instead of asking board members to go to all schools, the idea was that we would allocate 7 to 8 schools that each of us are primarily responsible for. That doesn't mean that you cannot attend or visit one of the schools that's not on your list. You are welcome to attend any one of those schools, but you are primarily responsible for that 7 or 8 schools. You will also see in that school allocation high schools or alternate opportunity schools, like Odyssey would be an alternate school, and Bijou and things like those. But whatever high school that you have been assigned out there, the expectation is that you will be speaking at that high school graduation at in May when those students graduate. So the idea behind that is you are developing a relationship with that school and the community, so you will be better positioned to talk about that school when you are addressing that graduation and the staff and the students out there. And different board members do it different ways as far as visiting schools, but the overall suggestion to you that I would provide is it's not like you show up once and done. The expectation is that these schools are essentially your schools. You bring the feedback by visiting that schools. If you have opportunities to visit a PTA event at that school, or a school accountability committee meeting, or other events that are there at the school, at the very basic thing is that you visit the school, engage with the principal, engage with the staff at least once, visit the school, tour the building, ask questions to the principal. Usually it's better if you announce you get on their schedule so you don't show up unannounced when they are not prepared, when they could be having testing that is going on or anything of that nature. But you can reach out by yourself and contact that secretary of that school and get on the calendar. But you can also use Ms. Olson as a tool and go through her, and she can see if you can get scheduled out there. Essential thing is that you go visit the school as many times as possible, develop a relationship with that community, parent community, staff community, engage with students. And if there is anything that you need to bring to the attention of the superintendent through your visits, or you can share it with the superintendent or bring it to the attention of the board. You have between now and May to complete your visits. Some board members who have been there since the fall, maybe some of these board members have already done the fall visits. Did that answer some of the questions that you guys had? Is there anything that I'm missing, the experienced board members out here, that you want to chime in? Good. That I just wanted to provide that feedback. Superintendent Gall, are you okay with the feedback that I provided?
Yeah, we'd love to have our board members in our schools. Just please let the principals know you're there.
Yep. Yeah, just let them know that you are there, and that way they can. And then you can also let them, the principals, know that, hey, if there are school events that are coming up, a student performance or whatever it is, that let me know. It's not that you are going to be there at every one of those events. It depends on your schedule too. But if possible, you just going there and saying hello to the students and staff, they appreciate it. Okay. The other thing that Director Art, you brought up, and I just wanted to make sure that we do have the will of the board on that, the town hall meetings and how to proceed with that. Is the board, there are two things that were suggested on this as far as the town hall meetings. I just want a clearer feedback as to how we want to proceed. One was that we do it like we have done before, have one town hall meeting in one location, or we divide the school district into 4 quadrants, and we have a town hall meeting in each one of the quadrant, but only 2 board members attend that town hall meeting. So it gets the 2 board members a little bit more better opportunity to speak, and the other board members are not required to attend the town hall meeting which you have not been assigned. But that way we cover greater numbers by dividing and conquering. Which is your preferred suggestion? All 7 board members being at one town hall meeting, or would you prefer 2 board members at each quadrant?
I'd like to speak to that. I think when we did our last town hall meeting, having all 7 board members there gave folks an opportunity to see everybody who sits on the board. And in the conversations before the town hall happened, the conversations after the town hall happened, folks who wanted to seek us out or we wanted to seek someone out in the audience, it gave us an opportunity to do that, as opposed to being segmented into a particular area or region. I think that, and as we've demonstrated from the dais, we don't always agree, or we have more information to add after it's been asked and answered. And I think that we best serve the district and the people who come to those meetings to have the opportunity to engage with each one of us without having to go to another area or region and have that conversation, as opposed to, or to go from one town hall to another town hall to see if we're saying the same things. I just think we all work together, we are all colleagues, and I think we're best represented when we're all together.
Okay. The only reason I suggested is that when you put 7 board members there, all of us sometimes want to talk on a certain question, and we all don't get enough opportunity to talk out there in an hour and a half. So just allocating 2 board members to each quadrant will give us more opportunity.
I just don't think 2 board
great.
members are going to adequately represent the district.
Okay. And you still, is it okay just to keep it to 1? Scheduling 3 more than 1 becomes time consuming on the board. We just schedule 1 town hall meeting. Are you guys good with that? Okay. Yep. We will live stream it. Director Art.
I was going to suggest, I agree, 4 is a lot to cram into the rest of the school year, but maybe 2. We could do one on, like at Mitchell and the other at Coronado, or Palmer and Doherty. Another possibility, considering format might be, the League of Women Voters calls it candidating, and it's basically like a speed dating format, or like a World Cafe where you could have 2 board members there, people could come to that table, have a conversation, get up, people move around. The board members could stay put, but people could rotate amongst the different board members. We could have it half and half even. I mean, it's where they can hear us answer some very specific questions, and then we have still a fairly formal come and talk to board members that we're still there. We don't go, oh, gotta go, if people still want to have a conversation. So just format, we can play with format.
Okay. So what I heard from Director Art is 1 or 2 meetings. 4 is too much. I will look at the schedule and see if we can do 1 or 2 meetings if that is there, and then the format itself.
Questions coming up about what you want to do about staff dinners too. How do you want to handle that? Do you want to talk about that now? Because they're usually
Employee group, yeah. Director Carey.
I was just going to ask, can you give me a sense for how well attended these town halls generally are? Because I think I like the idea of that Director Ott suggested of, part of it being more formal, part of it potentially being kind of more intimate conversations. But I don't have a sense for, are these things packed when they are held, or are they sparsely attended? Can someone give me a sense for that who's done this before?
Yeah, I think even Superintendent Gall had several town hall meetings at this time last year, and his feedback was that the same group of people come to the same locations most generally. We don't get new voices in there. So the last town hall meeting that we had at Mitchell, did we have about 25 people roughly, would you say, board members that were present out there? Roughly about 25 people. I don't know how many people watched it live stream online or whatever it is. But that's, it is, struggle sometimes to, when parents and community members have several things on their agenda and figuring out a schedule that works out all for them. But at least from our side, we have offered that option if community members want to come and engage with us.
Thank you. We have time to think through the format and maybe just agree on 1 or 2 meetings between now and the end of the school year, and then bring this conversation up again.
Okay. We have a board retreat at the end of the month. By that time, could we figure that out and let us know whether you want 1 or 2 and the format of the meeting, whether you want it like this or whether you want, like what Director Roth suggested, more like a cafe conversation kind of thing. We can talk about that various options. The other thing that I got the note on was employee group dinner. I would think that is something that's of interest to the board. Dinner with employee groups.
When is that?
Well, I haven't set this, but I just want to gauge the interest that we want to have one meeting when we meet with our teacher employee representation, our ESP employee representation, and our exec pro. Okay, is that so? Okay, from what I'm reading is, I guess one of the employee groups asked. One of the employee groups asked that this be separate as opposed to having all of them in one collective group or whatever it is, so they can each have the opportunity to talk. Am I reading that right? So if we go about doing this, maybe we do 1 hour, 45 minutes each for each employee group. What do you, Director Jurgensen.
I think Melissa had this idea, but just having like a appetizers charcuterie board of some sort to people to graze on, and then kind of have like a meet and greet. The first hour and hour and a half might be ESP, and then exec pro for the next hour and a half, and then teachers for the whatever, and then we could replenish the appetizers or the little snack buffet or whatever we decide, keep it low key and casual, and then just people come and go.
We'll keep it an hour for each one of the employee
Yeah,
groups.
an hour sounds good,
So
yeah.
that way it's a
3 hours.
3 hour
Good call.
thing and it's done. Okay, I will work on figuring that out as to when that is, separate for each of the employee groups for 1 hour. Okay, with that, moving on, we are at the calendar review. We have a work session next week, starting at 4 o'clock. The topic on the agenda topics that are on that is the media data that's going to come, which Superintendent Gall alluded to. We got like a preview of it when he made the presentation at our retreat. We will get a more in-depth jump into that media data and see how our schools are performing, how our students are performing. It will be sliced and diced by demographics and various disaggregated. The data will be disaggregated so we can ask our questions. And then the communications, what does the board and the district communications look like, the scope of it, that will also come in the January 17th work session. January 24th, we have a regular board meeting, and January 31st will be the board retreat off-site. Most likely starting at 4 o'clock for the board retreat. And that will be discussing the board priorities, some of the questions that did not get answered in the previous retreat. We will go through it. The other quick feedback that I need from the board is, do you still want to have that one-on-one conversation with George Welsh? He had offered that at that time. Is there any necessity for that at this point in time? The evaluation piece of it was one of the feedback that we were going to give. We did that already today at executive session. Is this a conversation we can have at the board retreat as opposed to engaging Mr. Welsh again? Okay. So I'm going to not schedule that then, okay? If that, okay. Director Jurgensen, you had something? Yeah.
Yeah, just a point of information. I thought we were going to look at, in the mid-year data, is that going to include student discipline data and student discipline data that I requested a while back?
I'll seek to add that. That wasn't, we were looking at our STAR stuff, but I'll seek to add that. I don't know if I'll have it posted by Friday, but we can have some early data to review at the work session on Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, would just want to know how to support schools with discipline and that kind of stuff, so that'd be great.
So it looks like the media data is going to be more STAR and maybe even Dibbles if you have the Acadians data.
It is not in the deck that I have approved. I'm not quite sure of our assessment schedule offhand to know if that data is looked at mid-year as well.
Okay. And if possible, if you have something on discipline, you can present that too. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn? Moved and seconded. Roll call, please, Melissa.
Director Bankus? Aye. Director Carey?
Aye.
Director Hafley?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
The ayes have it. We are officially adjourned at 8:50 p.m.